Chapter 329, Sword Cultivator Duel, Who Killed My Grandson? Since that's the case, let me show you the true capabilities of a sword cultivator. Meng Yibai's hands formed seals, and the golden flying sword suddenly let out a clear hum, emitting streaks of sword chi. The sword chi swept through like a storm, causing the blood-red flood dragon to wail and its body to dim. Go! Lu Changsheng's expression remained unchanged as the 9 flying swords in front of him shot out simultaneously. 3 headed towards the golden flying sword, and 6 towards Meng Yibai. Meng Yibai watched the approaching flying swords with a slight frown. He found it difficult to distinguish the real from the illusionary among the flying swords sent by Lu Changsheng. His expression did not change, and he showed no panic. His eyebrows raised like swords, and with a slap to his danton, he spat out a gleaming sword bead. This sword bead was round and glinted like a golden core, rotating around him and forming a net of sword chi. The sword bead, round in form yet embodying the intent of the sword, combined hardness with softness. Sharp enough to cut through metal like mud, and soft enough to coil around one's finger, its power far surpassed that of other flying swords of the same level. Furthermore, this sword bead was his life-bound spiritual artifact, possessing terrifying power. Clang, clang, clang. The 6 illusionary flying swords clashed against the net of the sword bead, sparking and ringing like metal striking against metal. Indeed, the sword bead was extraordinary, preventing Lu Changsheng's illusionary flying swords from breaking through its defense and even nicking the blades. I have only recently reached foundation establishment and my resources are insufficient. Many techniques have not caught up. To avoid any accidents, I must conclude this battle quickly. After a brief exchange, Lu Changsheng had a rough estimate of Meng Yibai's strength. His cultivation level appeared to be in the middle stage of foundation establishment. However, with the profound origin bead by his side, his mana was not weaker than that of a middle-stage foundation establishment cultivator. In fact, in terms of the amount of mana, he was even slightly superior. In a battle of equals, he naturally did not fear his opponent. But since the opponent was a disciple of the Immortal sex and had a false core immortal as a senior, it was certain he had many tricks and means of preservation, so a swift victory was best. Your so-called sword cultivator abilities are just this. Taste my sword. Shimmering shadow condensation sword technique. Lu Changsheng formed seals with his hands, and the mana in his body surged like a river, with the mana within his danshan's profound origin bead rapidly circulating. This caused the 8 illusionary flying swords to tremble violently and shine brilliantly. Subsequently, they transformed into streaks of 7-colored rainbow light, merging into the pristine white flying sword, which expanded greatly, transforming into a giant sword over 3 meters long. Slash! Lu Changsheng pointed like a sword and commanded the flying sword to cut down. The giant sword rose, with 7 colors of divine light swirling around it, and an endless surge of fierce and chilling sword chi seemed ready to extinguish all vitality as it slashed towards Meng Yibai with astounding momentum. Clang, clang, clang. Under the terrifying onslaught of the 7-colored giant sword, the golden flying sword let out a distressed cry as though it couldn't bear the pressure. How is this possible? How can you, a cultivator who has just broken through to the foundation establishment, have the ability to use such techniques, to have such power? Meng Yibai looked at the 7-colored giant sword, his eyelid twitching uncontrollably as shock took over his expression. As a sword cultivator, he was already considered unbeaten among his peers. Thus, he had not regarded Lu Changsheng, who had only just broken through foundation establishment, as a threat. Earlier, Lu Changsheng's shimmering shadow technique had merely made him acknowledge that Lu was an impressive talent. No wonder he had caught the eye of a prodigy like Xianxia. But now this technique was beyond what mere talent could account for. Or rather, this was definitely not a technique that a cultivator who had just broken through foundation establishment should have. Lu Changsheng's expression was indifferent, and he didn't reply, intent on slaying Meng Yibai with one sword. This youth has such astonishing methods. He must have obtained an unparalleled sword cultivation inheritance. Even if it costs me, it will be worth it to slay him. Meng Yibai's body burst with sword chi, and he took out a large tortoise shell to block the attack from the giant sword. The golden sword bead, after forming a heaven-covering sword chi net, suddenly burst forth in a flourish of sharp light, tearing through the air as it aimed for Lu Changxing. Simultaneously, a blue talisman appeared in his hand, glowing and pulsing with energy. Talisman treasure. Lu Changxing immediately noticed Meng Yibai's action. He recognized the blue talisman in his hand as a talisman treasure. Indeed, befitting a disciple of the immortal sex, talisman treasures seemed to be standard issue. Previously Xianxia had a talisman treasure by her side, and now so did this person. Go! Lu Changxing did not bring out his talisman treasure, the golden light brick, to counterattack. His golden light brick magical treasure had limited remaining power and was not suitable for prolonged use. He slapped his storage bag and released a top-grade shield magic artifact and his second-rank puppet to block the sword bead. Next, he channeled a continuous flow of mana into the seven-colored giant sword, pushing its power to the extreme, making it overwhelmingly powerful. Crack! In that moment, the tortoise shell magic artifact immediately showed a crack. Not good. Meng Yibai did not expect Lu Changxing's assault to be so aggressive. His own tortoise shell was a low-grade spiritual artifact. Yet, it seemed so fragile against the onslaught of the giant sword. Seeing Lu Changxing also had a second-rank puppet, he had no choice but to call his sword bead back to defend. Sword chi burst forth, forming a spiraling net of sword chi in the sky, continuing to block the onslaught of the seven-colored giant sword as he sought time to activate his talisman treasure. Within a few breaths, Meng Yibai activated the blue talisman treasure. With a clear sound, the talisman treasure transformed into a small, water-like flowing blue jade ruler. The jade ruler radiated a dazzling light in the air. Just like Lu Changxing's previous pristine white flying sword, it split in 2, then 4, and then 8, creating more and more jade rulers. In no time, Meng Yibai's front was covered with a multitude of blue jade rulers, totaling over 100. These jade rulers were neatly arranged, forming a barrier in front of the seven-colored giant sword. Go! Meng Yibai formed seals with his hands, directing the sword bead, which was still clashing with the giant sword, to transform into a golden ray of light and strike towards Lu Changxing. Chapter 330, Sword Cultivator Duel, Who Killed My Grandson? Simultaneously, a series of blue jade rulers shot towards Lu Changxing. Although his talisman treasure was quite ordinary, it excelled in both offense and defense. As a sword cultivator, once you start defending, it's the beginning of defeat. Lu Changxing's expression remained calm as he spoke lightly, his words aimed to influence the mental spirit of his opponent. With his divine sense, he manipulated the magical shield and the second-rank puppet to rush forward to the sword bead for defense. At the same time, his hand sliced through the air like a blade, unleashing sword lights towards the blue jade rulers. He saw several blue jade rulers disintegrate under his 7 luminaries' sword lights, giving him a rough idea of the ruler's might. Instantly, a talisman appeared in his hand. Earlier, from the hands of the red-robed youth, he had obtained 7 second-rank supreme talismans. Among them were 4 attack talismans. Second-rank supreme talisman, Thunder Fire Immaculate Talisman. Boom boom boom, Lu Changxing's talisman was activated, transforming into endless celestial thunder and earth fire, sweeping towards the overwhelming tide of jade rulers with an astonishing momentum, causing a furious barrage. The myriad of jade rulers, already struggling to withstand the 7-colored giant sword, started to tremble wildly, shattering and then splitting anew. Go! Seeing his second-rank puppet fall back step by step in front of the sword bead and suffer damage all over, Lu Changxing immediately reactivated the blood-red scissors, transforming them into a blood-colored flood dragon to charge at the golden sword bead. After all, repairing the puppet afterwards would not only cost money but also time. Little guy, keep an eye on him. Lu Changxing released the 6-winged golden silkworm from his spiritual pet bag. Though the 6-winged golden silkworm only had late first-grade strength for now, as long as the opponent wasn't a body cultivator, hiding in the dark, it could still deliver an unexpected strike. Damn it. He's just a cultivator who recently broke through to Foundation establishment. Where does he get such profound mana to support these techniques? Meng Yibai felt his mana rapidly draining from within, his complexion exceedingly unsightly. With his strength at the 5th layer of Foundation establishment, his mana was swiftly depleting, almost exhausted. Lu Changxing, however, was a cultivator who had just broken through Foundation establishment, with less than half his own mana. Yet, while using such terrifying divine skills and techniques like the 7-colored giant sword, he could still nonchalantly cast other spells and activate spiritual artifacts, which was utterly beyond Meng's comprehension. Crack! Just at that moment, a crisp sound echoed. Hovering in midair, the tortoise shell filled with cracks finally shattered completely, allowing the myriad jade rulers to break and divide continuously under the 7-colored giant sword. No, there's something wrong with this kid, something seriously wrong. He must have some sort of artifact on him that increases and stores mana. Otherwise, having just broken through Foundation establishment, it shouldn't be so exaggerated. Seeing Lu Changxing showing no signs of mana depletion and launching yet another talisman with explosive force, Meng Yibai's face turned extremely sour. Making a snap decision in his mind, he prepared to flee. Sword cultivators may value a relentless advance and unobstructed thoughts, but they are not fools. Knowing that where there's life, there's hope, there's no need for a bitter struggle to the death. Meng Yibai's mana surged throughout his body, fully activating his talisman treasure to fend off the terrifying assault of the giant sword. Meanwhile, he recalled the blood-colored flood dragon and the dimly lit 2nd-rank puppet sword bead to his side. Lu Changxing, witnessing this act, instantly knew something was wrong. His blood-colored scissors and 2nd-rank puppet were no match for the sword bead. The question was whether he would break the opponent's talisman treasure first, or if the opponent's sword bead would destroy his 2nd-rank puppet and blood-colored scissors first. But now, the opponent was withdrawing the offensive, which clearly indicated a problem. Could he be thinking of fleeing? Lu Changsheng's heart skipped a beat, realizing that the other might be planning an escape. Otherwise, as a sword cultivator, to abandon offense and focus solely on defense in these circumstances was indeed illogical. Without hesitation, Lu Changxing ceased to conserve his resources. He took out his talisman treasure, the golden light brick. Although this golden light brick talisman treasure wasn't very powerful, it had the effect of suppressing the heavens and the earth, making it difficult for one to break free and hard to escape. Now that Lu Changxing had broken through to the Foundation establishment stage, he could activate his talisman treasure much faster than in the Qi refinement realm. In just a short time, the talisman in his hand soared into the sky, radiating golden light. A talisman treasure. Meng Yibai's expression drastically changed upon seeing this. He hadn't expected Lu Changxing to still possess a talisman treasure, hidden until now. In that moment, he could no longer care about his life-bound sword pellet. He instantly propelled the flying shuttle beneath him, transforming into a streak of golden light to flee without looking back. But part of the golden light brick talisman treasure's power had already manifested. Golden light shone in all directions, as if the might of an ancient divine mountain pressed down with a rumbling force, causing his body to feel suddenly heavy and his mana sluggish. The 6-winged golden silkworm, concealed in the dark, struck at that very moment, lunging out like a golden flash. What is this? Despite being a Foundation establishment great cultivator, Meng Yibai acutely sensed the incoming 6-winged golden silkworm, his mana erupting around him to form a protective aura. Clang! The 6-winged golden silkworm slammed into the shield, emitting a sound of metal clashing, unable to penetrate. Boom boom boom. At that moment, the myriad blue jade rulers lacking Meng Yibai's mana support began to shatter under the giant sword. Lu Changxing immediately led his 2nd-rank puppet to chase after Meng Yibai. Fellow Daoist, if you cease this pursuit and let me go, I swear upon my Dao heart, I will not seek revenge, and I am willing to offer this talisman treasure and 10,000 spirit stones as compensation, Meng Yibai shouted out, trapped beneath the golden light brick, his mana sluggish. I am rather curious, having disguised my appearance, how did you manage to track me down? Lu Changxing pressed, using the remaining power of the golden light brick to suppress Meng Yibai, as he voiced his inquiry. I have an Earth-rank lower-grade pet beast, the Earth Spirit Mouse. This mouse doesn't have many talents, but it has an extremely sharp sense of smell for spiritual objects, and this sense applies in other areas as well. It had caught the scent on your body, the odor of the storage bag, so even if you changed your appearance and concealed your aura, it still couldn't be completely hidden and could be sensed approximately, Meng Yibai explained. Chapter 331, Sword Cultivator Duel, Who Killed My Grandson? _4, if the fellow Daoist requires, Meng would also be willing to offer this Earth Spirit Mouse. As a sword cultivator, although Meng Yibai was begging for mercy, he still stood tall, speaking neither humbly nor arrogantly. So that's how it is. Lu Changxing nodded slightly upon hearing this. He had previously read in books about how some treasures and spiritual beasts could even sense the treasures inside another person's storage bag. He never expected that this Earth Spirit Mouse would be able to sniff out not only a person's aura but the aura of their storage bag as well. This gave him a shiver of fear. Fortunately, he hadn't encountered a cultivator who could sense the treasures in his storage bag. Otherwise, he would have been the ultimate fat sheep. Fellow Daoist, what do you say? Meng Yibai, whose mana was nearly depleted and watching his talisman treasure dimming, felt a sense of urgency but still steadied his mental spirit and said in a deep voice, "There's nothing to say. In this situation, how can I let you go? I can't rest easy if I don't kill you." As soon as Lu Changsheng's words fell, the seven-colored giant sword thunderously slashed down. From the moment his opponent engaged him in combat, his opponent's death was certain. Fellow Daoist, we originally had no grudges, and this matter was due to my momentary impulsiveness, which offended you. I am willing to apologize to you, and you can make any demands. Moreover, my grandmother, a false core immortal of the Qingyun sect, has planted a soul seal inside my body. If you kill me, she will be informed. I am telling you this not as a threat but to let you know that if you kill me, you will only bring endless trouble upon yourself, with disadvantages outweighing the benefits. Meng Yibai forced his mana to surge, spinning the golden sword bead to attempt escape. But being suppressed by the golden brick, his movements were like being mired in a swamp, making it difficult to break free, forcing him to reactivate his talisman treasure to block the attack. At this moment, his tone became hurried, unable to maintain the calmness and dignity he previously had. Alas, that is exactly why I asked you at first if there was a misunderstanding. But unfortunately, given the chance, you did not know how to seize it. Lu Changxing sighed. No sooner had he spoken than his eyes revealed a fierce glint, and he thrust down the seven-colored giant sword with all his might. Today, no matter the excuses, his opponent was doomed. Otherwise, being sought after by someone so prideful and willing to chase him over a small matter would make his own life unbearable. Boom, boom, boom. The forcefully activated talisman treasure and sword bead erupted, colliding constantly in front of the seven-colored giant sword. But his mana was largely expended, and he was suppressed by the golden brick, his mana sluggish. Facing such a fearsome assault, how could he possibly block it? Poochie, Poochie, Poochie. 5 spears from behind the second-rank puppet burst forth simultaneously, piercing through Meng Yibai's protective aura and then through his body like thunder. Pooh! In an instant, Meng Yibai spat blood and lost the strength to support his talisman treasure and sword bead against the attack. The next moment, the seven-colored giant sword descended like the opening of the heavens and the earth, slicing Meng Yibai's body in two, splattering blood and drenching the sky. My methods are still too few. Were it not for the mana enhancement and support from the profound origin bead, the outcome of this battle would have been uncertain. Not to mention, this flying sword isn't quite suited to me. After witnessing Meng Yibai's death, Lu Changxing let out a breath and murmured to himself, gaining a rough understanding of his own strength. Without dwelling on it further, he instantly reached out with a man-influenced hand, capturing the opponent's treasures and body, and disappeared in an escape light. At that moment, Qingyun sect. within a golden and dazzling magnificent palace. An old lady with aged features and graying hair suddenly felt something in her heart. A life-bound jade token appeared in her hand. But now, this life-bound jade token showed cracks. Ibai. Watching the broken life-bound token in her hand, her eyes filled with disbelief as she let out a piercing scream. Who is it? Who killed my grandson? The old lady's entire presence saturated the air, and her eyes revealed a reddish hue. Moments later, she transformed into a rainbow light and flew out of the palace. Straight away, steering a spirit boat, she turned into an escape light and shot towards the Qingyun market. Chapter 332. Great Harvest. Could the killer of my grandson be false core immortal? Underscored within a cave. Lu Changsheng closed his eyes and surveyed himself with his divine sense. He saw an odd grayish aura within his body. Is this the so-called soul seal? Not only does it allow the caster to know when the person on whom the spell is cast dies or encounters an accident, but it also allows the caster to find the slayer from 1,000 miles away by transforming the soul seal into a resentful soul thread that resides within the assailant. Lu Changsheng looked at the gray aura and murmured to himself. He attempted to eradicate the gray aura with his mana. But the gray aura wriggled and twisted like a living being, proving to be obstinate. His mana was simply unable to eradicate it. Then, Lu Changsheng took out a second-rank lower-grade purification talisman and activated it on himself. A glow as pure and white as water flowed through his body, and upon sensing the gray aura, it immediately enveloped it. However, the purifying force could only suppress the gray aura to a certain extent and was unable to purify it completely. A soul seal planted by a false core immortal is indeed not so easily resolved. Must I really be forced to use a life-substituting talisman? Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly as he muttered to himself. Knowing that Meng Yibai was the grandson of a false core immortal, he still dared to kill him because he had something to rely on. This reliance was the life-substituting talisman. The life-substituting talisman had the effect of fending off lethal attacks and escaping through space. Schemes like the soul seal and resentful soul threads that curse one's life could also be diverted by the life-substituting talisman to take the user's place. First, let's see if other methods can resolve this resentful soul thread. Otherwise, using this fourth-rank life-substituting talisman here would be too wasteful. Lu Changsheng took a deep breath and thought to himself. He did not wish to waste his life-saving talisman so easily and carelessly. After all, this life-substituting talisman could allow him to escape death even from a nascent soul below. To be so frightened as to use the life-substituting talisman for a yet-to-arrive false core immortal would be too disheartening. Moreover, if I really have to use the life-substituting talisman, I'd have to wait until that false core immortal comes searching. By then, I could also remember his appearance and aura to send him on his way with the Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates to settle the grudge once and for all. The Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates would require 100 years of lifespan to curse a nascent soul immortal to death. After seeing the method's effectiveness, Lu Changsheng promptly took out the talisman pens and talisman materials for second-rank talismans he had bought from the marketplace from his storage bag. He began to draw a second-rank Supreme Purification Talisman, planning to rely on the talisman's assistance to rapidly refine the resentful soul thread. Having just been through a magical combat, not only was his mana spent, but his heart had not completely calmed yet. Therefore, Lu Changsheng did not start by drawing a second-rank Supreme Talisman. Instead, he first drew a second-rank middle-grade Purification Talisman to recover his touch and calm his heart. An hour later, Lu Changsheng held the talisman pen and slowly outlined a second-rank middle-grade purification talisman, infusing it with mana. The talisman paper radiated with a white light, surging forth and bringing the talisman to form. After completing this talisman, Lu Changsheng did not rest. He began drawing a second-rank upper-grade purification talisman. It took Lu Changsheng about half an hour to finish drawing this second-rank upper-grade purification talisman. Talisman making is such, the higher the grade of the talisman being drawn, the more difficult and complex it becomes, and the more time and mana it consumes. However, Lu Changxing not only possessed a maxed-out talisman-making skill at the second rank, he also had the profound origin bead, acting as a second dantian. Inside it, he stored 9 times his own mana, which kept his mana nearly inexhaustible and spared him the worry of insufficient mana. Chapter 333. Great Harvest. Could the killer of my grandson be false core immortal? Moreover, having broken through to Foundation establishment, Lu Changxing was not so easily fatigued in his mental spirit just by drawing a few talismans. Phew! With the feel gained from just now by drawing 2 talismans, Lu Changxing took a deep breath, his expression serious, and began to draw a second-rank Supreme Purification Talisman. Currently, for drawing second-rank Superior Grade Talisman, he had a 98% chance of success. But for the second-rank Supreme Talisman, he only had about a 70 to 80% chance. He didn't dare claim he could succeed 100% of the time. Lu Changxing, holding the talisman brush, slowly started to draw. The mana from within his body flowed unceasingly through the second-rank brush, outlining on the talisman paper, making the paper constantly bloom with colors and forming mysterious runes. An hour later, Lu Changxing looked at the second-rank Supreme Talisman he had successfully drawn, a faint smile appearing on his face. He then picked up the talisman and applied the Purification Talisman to himself. Instantly, the talisman's white light flourished, illuminating the cave as if it were daytime. The purifying force, like tidal waves, surged into Lu Changxing's body, enveloping and purifying the strands of malevolent spirits. In this process, the strands were directly purified by the talisman. Lu Changxing felt that, with just 5 or 6 second-rank Supreme Purification Talismans, he could directly purify these malevolent spirit strands. Lu Changxing didn't think too much and quickly began to circulate the 7 luminaries' freedom scripture. With the 7 luminaries' sword chi in coordination with the Purification Talisman, he refined the wisp of malevolent spirit strand. Half an hour later, the strand of malevolent spirit inside Lu Changxing was directly refined by 80%. Seeing this, Lu Changxing didn't continue drawing second-rank Supreme Purification Talismans. He directly used the second-rank Superior Grade Talisman he had just drawn. With the help of the purifying power of this Superior Grade Talisman, Lu Changxing directly refined the remaining strands of the malevolent spirit. After the refining was complete, Lu Changxing used his divine sense and the remaining second-rank middle-grade purification talismans to check again and confirm. Ensuring that the malevolent spirit strand within his body was refined and there were no other issues, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Glancing at the 6-winged golden silkworm, which was absorbing the residual blood of Meng Yibai's corpse. "Let's go!" Lu Changxing beckoned, recalling the 6-winged golden silkworm. Then a fireball technique shot out, burning Meng Yibai's body to ashes and causing the cave to collapse. Only then did he take out an escape talisman and quickly depart. After continuously fleeing for several hundred miles, Lu Changxing finally started to rest. He took out 2 elixir medicines and swallowed them to restore his physical strength and mana. Only then did he start to sort through Meng Yibai's storage bag to see what gains he had made. This is a sword cultivator, huh? Apart from a flying sword and a life-bound sword pellet, there is only one tortoise shell magic artifact. He doesn't have any other magic artifacts. Lu Changxing glanced at the storage bag, giving it a cursory sweep with his divine sense. He discovered that surprisingly, there were no magic artifacts inside, just spirit stones, spiritual medicine, and various elixir medicines. Immediately afterward, Lu Changxing set aside the spirit stones, spiritual medicines, and various precious materials. He picked up a medicine bottle, sniffed the aroma and nodded. This should be origin nurturing elixir, and there are still 7 pills, not bad. This should be harmonizing energy elixir. Lu Changxing evaluated each elixir medicine bottle one by one. Just then, as Lu Changxing opened a porcelain bottle, he looked at the pill inside, and his pupils couldn't help but constrict. He immediately poured the pill into his palm to take a closer look. It really is a foundation establishment elixir. Why would he have a foundation establishment elixir on him? Lu Changsheng looked at this foundation establishment elixir with a little surprise and delight. He really hadn't expected Meng Yibai to have a foundation establishment elixir on him. He had been thinking about getting a genuine foundation establishment elixir for Lu Miaoge. After all, with Lu Miaoge's talent, wanting to make a breakthrough in foundation establishment without a foundation establishment elixir was almost impossible. So he planned, once Lu Miaoge reached Qi refinement perfection, to visit the 3 great immortal cities to see if he could get a foundation establishment elixir through some channel or at an auction. Never did he expect to find what he sought without putting much effort into it and inadvertently obtaining a foundation establishment elixir from Meng Yibai. Moreover, it was exactly the genuine foundation establishment elixir he needed, not some inferior product. Now that I have the foundation establishment elixir as well as the 3 suns elixir and foundation establishment spirit objects, Sister Miaoge's foundation establishment should be secure. Lu Changsheng didn't think too much about where Meng Yibai got the foundation establishment elixir from. He was simply grateful for the kind person's gift. He carefully stored the foundation establishment elixir, preparing to give it to Lu Miaoge when the time came. After all, she was currently his only wife with hopes of achieving foundation establishment. If he had the ability to assist her, he would naturally lend a hand. For Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhenjin, and Lu Miaohuan, he currently had no way to assist them. After clearing up the storage bag, Lu Changsheng opened the spiritual pet bag. He immediately saw a palm-sized golden-furred, endearingly clumsy hamster. A hamster! Lu Changsheng saw this innocuous, somewhat cute golden hamster and was stunned. After all, in the cultivation world he had seen many ferocious demon beasts. Suddenly seeing such a harmless and endearingly clumsy hamster really caught him off guard. Is this the Earth Spirit Mouse? Lu Changsheng looked at the golden hamster and immediately knew this must be the Earth-rank low-grade bloodline demon beast, the Earth Spirit Mouse, that Meng Yibai had mentioned. It was relying on this Earth Spirit Mouse that the other party had detected his scent, seeing through his disguise. Lu Changsheng took the beast control token from the storage bag into his hands. Then, with a subtle movement of his mental spirit, he released the golden hamster from the spiritual pet bag. Squeak, squeak, squeak. When the little hamster appeared and saw Lu Changsheng, it displayed fear and trepidation. This demon beast, although possessing an Earth-grade bloodline, was primarily skilled in its sense of smell and used for treasure hunting. It was not combat-oriented and was quite timid. Now, with only late-stage first-grade power, the hamster naturally felt fear and trepidation in the presence of Lu Changsheng, a foundation establishment cultivator. Moreover, Lu Changsheng was holding in his hand the beast control token that decided its fate. Throughout my life, adrift as a mouse, I have only regretted not finding a worthy master. Now that I have met one, if you would not reject me, I am willing to acknowledge you as my adoptive father. Chapter 334. Great Harvest. Could the killer of my grandson be false core immortal? The golden hamster looked at Lu Changsheng, knelt on both legs, and made a gesture of bowing with its hands. Through the beast control token, it also sent a mental communication. Lu Changsheng received this mental communication and looked at the little hamster in front of him, somewhat surprised. He hadn't expected that this demon beast would possess such intelligence. Like his own 6-winged golden silkworm, despite being of heavenly grade bloodline, it utterly lacked any intelligence. All it knew was to kill, kill, kill. This is indeed the two extremes. Lu Changsheng smiled, picked up the hamster in front of him to inspect it, and gave it a couple of rubs. The golden fur was like silk, very comfortable to the touch. This Earth Spirit Mouse has an extremely keen sense of smell for heaven and earth spiritual objects. If one is exploring a secret realm or dungeon, having such a demon beast can easily double the efficiency. What a pity I hardly ever run dungeons. Lu Changsheng looked at the hamster and smacked his lips. But he didn't feel it was a waste. This treasure-seeking mouse was quite good for the family. Moreover, if he didn't use it, he could at least sell it for tens of thousands of spirit stones later on. However, what demon beast's egg is this? Lu Changsheng put the hamster back into the spiritual pet bag. With a slight movement of his mental spirit, a pale green egg, the size of a watermelon, appeared. When he checked the spiritual pet bag, he saw that besides the earth spirit mouse, there was also a pet beast egg. But looking at the egg's appearance, he couldn't discern which demon beast's egg it was. Being in the spiritual pet bag of a second-generation cultivator, it mustn't be an ordinary demon beast's egg. Lu Changsheng held the egg and examined it for a few moments. He could tell that there were normal life signs within, but it would take some time before it could hatch. He put the spiritual pet bag away again, planning to study it later. Although there are only just over 6,000 spirit stones, and there are no other magic artifacts. But the talisman treasure, foundation establishment elixir, earth spirit mouse, and this pet egg are also great gains. Lu Changsheng roughly tallied the spoils of this encounter. 51 middle-grade spirit stones. 1,372 lower-grade spirit stones. Spiritual medicine, materials, elixir medicines, worth 4,000 to 5,000 spirit stones. Then there were the talisman treasure, the golden flying sword, the life-bound sword pellet, the flying shuttle, as well as the foundation establishment elixir, the earth spirit mouse, and the pet egg. Several hours later, a streak of escape light cut through the air, descending from the sky. It arrived at the place where Meng Yibai and Lu Changsheng had fought. Yibai should have fallen here. The old crone stood on the spirit boat, her eyes emitting a faint glow, surveying the surroundings. After a while, her expression turned extremely grave. As a sword cultivator, Yibai was invincible at his level, and with the blue jade ruler talisman I gave him for self-defense, he could even escape from those in the late stages of foundation establishment. Yet not only has he fallen here, but the soul seal I planted inside him has also disappeared. Could it be that the person who killed Yibai is a false core immortal? The old crone's face was serious, her eyes slightly vacant as she murmured to herself. She could only deduce that her grandson had died here from some residual auras, but could not understand the specific circumstances. The absence of the soul seal and vengeful spirits made her realize that the person who killed her grandson was not simple. It was very likely a false core cultivator. But the next moment, she shook her head slightly, feeling it was unlikely to be a false core cultivator. If it were a false core cultivator, they wouldn't have left behind so much residue of a magical duel. Moreover, even if her grandson was audacious and recklessly confident in his abilities to overcome all challenges, he would not have provoked a false core immortal. If it were a foundation establishment cultivator, the old crone's expression grew even graver. Realizing that if a foundation establishment cultivator had killed her grandson and dealt with the vengeful spirit thread, then this indicated that the opponent was extraordinary. Behind them could very well be a false core immortal, or even a nascent soul immortal. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to kill her grandson. Alas, I warned Yibai many times, being too rigid can lead to breakage. Those who advance too boldly retreat quickly. The true strength of an unsheathed green peak lies in its concealment. Cultivating the sword Dao is not about blindly seeking sharpness. The old crone, with hands clasped behind her back, suddenly sighed, murmured to herself, and stooped a little more. At this moment, even though her heart was filled with myriad feelings of outrage and hatred, she had nowhere to vent them. Furthermore, guessing that the person who killed her grandson was no small fry also made her wary. After all, she had only a few decades of life left. The entire family relied on her, the old ancestor, for support. Now that Meng Yibai, the pillar of the family's future, was dead, she, as the old ancestor, had to keep supporting it so that the family lineage would continue. Yibai was serving as the record chief in the marketplace. Why would he suddenly be here, fighting with someone? The old crone paused for a moment, her eyes squinted into slits, still pondering her grandson's affairs. Even though she was apprehensive, she couldn't simply give up and ignore the revenge for her grandson's death. Suddenly, the old crone controlled her spirit boat and flew toward the Qingyun market. She intended to investigate the reason her grandson left the market and why he ended up in combat. Chapter 335. The Seven Luminaries Stars Sword, Second Transformation Peach Blossom Goo. One Lady Meng arrived at the Qingyun market and began to inquire about the recent circumstances of her grandson, Meng Yibai, and whether anything had happened within the marketplace. Since the Qingyun market was established by the Qingyun sect, she, as a false core immortal, naturally found it quite effortless to obtain this kind of information. Before long, she had a general understanding of her grandson's recent situation and the latest developments in the marketplace. Among these, she sharply picked up on a piece of information. Xianxia was making her attempt at foundation establishment in the Qingyun market. Moreover, Xianxia was not attempting foundation establishment alone. She was also co-renting a cave dwelling with a man to make the attempt. Upon learning this news, Lady Meng realized in her heart that her grandson's death from an external conflict could very well be related to this matter. She knew her grandson's temperament very well, and was aware of his pursuit of Xianxia. It was she who first brought it up, hoping her grandson could take Fairy Xiyu as his cultivation partner. If her grandson knew that Xianxia had come to the Qingyun market for foundation establishment, he would surely go to offer his congratulations. But upon seeing Xianxia being intimate with another man, sharing a room, feelings of jealousy and even murderous intent towards the man would surely arise. Xianxia. Lady Meng's complexion turned somewhat unsightly. Unexpectedly, the matter had somehow become entangled with Xianxia. The lead pointed back to Xianxia. However, even knowing the matter was related to Xianxia and could be investigated through her, she dared not go to Xianxia to inquire. For one, she herself was not in the right in this matter. If a man could share a room and attempt foundation establishment with Xianxia, even if they were not cultivation partners, their relationship was certainly not shallow. In such a situation, her grandson getting into trouble due to jealousy and meeting his demise was simply courting death. Seeking her out herself might even offend Xianxia. She was certainly not afraid of Xianxia, but Xianxia's status was special. She had Yun Wansheng, a core formation master, as her mentor. Even as a false core immortal, she dared not offend the esteemed Kaiyun true immortal. After all, this was a true nascent soul immortal. Especially since the Kaiyun true immortal had real power within the sect and was extremely protective of her own. Just a year ago, she even drew swords with Qiang Peak over matters concerning her disciple, Xianxia. With such a temperament, Lady Meng knew she could not provoke her. If this true immortal of Kaiyun learned of the matter and targeted her, one strike aimed at her, and she feared she would have to prepare her last rites in advance. Furthermore, learning that the person had just broken through to the foundation establishment confirmed her previous suspicions. The assailant behind her grandson's slaying must have had someone else supporting him, most likely a false core immortal or even a nascent soul immortal. Otherwise, how could a person who had just achieved foundation establishment possibly defeat her grandson, let alone slay him? Sigh. After having a general understanding of the cause and effect, Lady Meng let out a deep sigh. Her stature dejected, she left the Qingyun market in her spirit boat, heading back to the Qingyun sect. She planned to spend the following days peacefully within the Qingyun sect. This flying sword is indeed a bit more suited to me than the red-robed young man's spiritual artifact flying sword, Lu Chongsheng spoke after refining Meng Yibai's golden flying sword, toying with it for a while. But it's also because I possess a Gingjin body constitution, which makes this flying sword more compatible with me, he added. If I want to possess a truly suitable spiritual sword, I'll need to employ an artifact refiner to forge a spiritual sword that encompasses both yin and yang and the 5 elements, Lu observed. Practicing the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, Lu Chongxing was naturally very clear about what kind of spiritual sword he needed to maximize his strength. It was difficult to acquire such a spiritual sword through purchase or pillage, as most flying swords in the cultivation world were of a single attribute or had 2 or 3 attributes. It was rare to find one with both yin and yang and the 5 elements. One had to commission an artifact refiner to forge it. When I have some spare money later on, I'll hire someone to forge one, Lu Chongxing decided as he stowed away the flying sword, thinking to himself. He wasn't too concerned about it. This kind of flying sword was, after all, just a transitional spiritual artifact. During the foundation establishment stage, his life-bound spiritual artifact was the 7 luminaries heart lamp. Once this lamp was forged, his strength could rise to another level. As for the flying sword, when he broke through to core formation, within the third level of the Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture, there was a set called Seven Luminaries Stars Sword, consisting of magical treasures, flying swords of various different attributes. He could forge the Sun Solar Sword, the Lunar Solar Sword, the Venus Solar Sword, the Jupiter Solar Sword, the Saturn Solar Sword, the Mars Solar Sword, and the Terran Solar Sword, 7 magical treasures, flying swords of differing attributes. This set of magical treasures, flying swords, when paired with the Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture, complemented each other perfectly, amplifying their power significantly. They could also turn into 64 sword shadows to form the Seven Luminaries' Star Sword formation. Once this sword formation was complete, even at the initial stage of core formation, he could easily suppress a mid-nascent soul stage, and might even overpower someone at the core formation late stage. Still, I'm only at foundation establishment, and magical treasures are far beyond my reach. Lu Changxing shook his head, not dwelling further on the subject. He took out a jade slip map, poured his mana into it, and checked his current location. He was about 2 days' travel from Qingzhou Mountain. Although the spiteful spirit threads have been refined, I still don't know if Meng Yibai's false core elder has any other means to track me down. Therefore, to be safe, I'd better wander outside for a while longer, not hurrying back to Qingzhou Mountain to avoid attracting trouble, he pondered. After checking the map, Lu Changxing decided to spend the next 10 days to half a month observing the surroundings before returning. Confirming that Meng Yibai's elder could not find him was prudent before going back. Otherwise, involving Qingzhou Mountain and the Hongya marketplace would be unfortunate. Sigh, it seems I really must limit my excursions, he reflected. Chapter 336, The Seven Luminaries' Stars Sword, Second Transformation. Peach Blossom Goo. It's one thing to kill ordinary robber cultivators, but killing those second-generation cultivators with influential backgrounds might bring serious trouble. Lu Changxing sighed. He made up his mind that after this trip home, he would focus on making money and nurturing his child, settling his own foundation. Otherwise, encountering more people like Meng Yibai might bring trouble to his family. Moreover, he needed to invest more effort into raising his child and education. If not, even if he could establish a family, it would be troublesome if the child grew up improperly. Just as Lu Changxing was about to find a place to rest, he felt a faint throbbing in his glabella. The peach blossom goo has completed its transformation and ascended to the second transformation. The next moment, Lu Changxing knew what this trembling sensation was about. It was his peach blossom goo reaching ascension. This peach blossom goo had already peaked at the first transformation, but due to the limitations of his own cultivation level, it had been unable to transform and ascend to the second transformation. At the very moment he achieved foundation establishment, the peach blossom goo in his glabella began its transformation and ascension. Now, a month had passed, and the peach blossom goo had completed its transformation, successfully ascending to the second transformation. The ascension of the peach blossom goo to the second transformation didn't come with significant changes, just an enhancement of its 3 original effects. This made his peach blossom luck even more prosperous. The peach blossom goo improved his appearance and charisma when attracting the opposite sex, as well as its proactive effect, enhancing the affliction of the 5 aggregates peach blossom poison. With the peach blossom gus ascension, my peach blossom luck has increased even further. I'd better go out less. Otherwise, I might encounter peach blossom luck the moment I step out of the door. Lu Changxing stroked his chin and chuckled lightly. Immediately, he descended toward a large mountain in front of him, planning to pause here for half a month, to see if the false core immortal backing Meng Yibai would find him. If they did come looking, he would proceed as planned, fleeing with a life-substituting talisman and settling scores using the Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates. If not, naturally that would be best. After visiting the true Immortal Du at the Qingyun market, Xiao Siye didn't delay and returned directly to the Qingyun sect. Upon her arrival at the sect, she headed straight for Kaiyun Peak. She went to voir her master at the magnificent palace at the very peak. As soon as she arrived in front of the grand hall, Xianxia saw on the stairs a woman clad in colorful clouds, her hair done up in a cloud bun, with an appearance as stunning as a heavenly maiden, noble and gorgeous. It was her master, Yunwanshi. Apparently, her master knew she had returned and was waiting for her here. Master! Xianxia immediately greeted her with a respectful curtsy. Shiyu, you have not disappointed your teacher, Yunwanshang said, with a faint smile on her face as she looked at her disciple. She had received early news from the real Immortal Du at Qingyun Market of Xiaoxia's success in foundation establishment. She also knew that Xiaoxia was not alone in her breakthrough. She had undergone foundation establishment together with Lu Changxing. After hearing this news, she felt reassured on the one hand, yet also experienced an indescribable complexity. It was reassuring that Xiaoxia had overcome her emotional ordeal, reached a complete state of mind, and succeeded in foundation establishment. The complexity was due to the situation between Xiaoxia and Lu Changxing. Although she had been prepared for this, actually learning that Lu Changxing and Xiaoxia underwent foundation establishment together still left her feeling complex. This meant that her connection with Lu Changxing was completely severed. Upon learning of Lu Changxing's foundation establishment, she felt an inexplicable irritability. She was afraid that Lu Changxing would activate the jade pendant to contact her. After all, when she had given the jade pendant to Lu Changxing, she had said that once he achieved foundation establishment, she would give him a chance. But now that Lu Changxing and Xiaoxia had formed a bond and taken that step together, she didn't know how to deal with the situation. Fortunately, there had been no movement from the jade pendant. Yet this also brought some displeasure to her heart. Although she had already decided in her heart, even if Lu Changxing activated the jade pendant, she wouldn't respond. However, even though she would ignore it, the fact that Lu Changxing had succeeded in foundation establishment and didn't activate the jade pendant to contact her annoyed her quite a bit. She wanted to ask Lu Changxing what he meant by that. Did he look down on her? She was a nascent soul immortal, offering such an unparalleled opportunity, and yet he didn't know to cherish and seize it. Master, I have still disappointed you, Xiaoxia said softly, pursing her lips. Yun Wanshang was slightly startled upon hearing this. She then examined Xiaoxia carefully, immediately noticing that Xiaoxia's magical aura was slightly amiss. As Xiaoxia's master, she naturally knew that the foundation base her disciple sought to condense was the supreme mysterious Moon Dao Foundation. This foundation base was quite impressive even among perfect foundation bases, not only for its robust foundation of mana but also for complementing Xiaoxia's constitution. But what she observed at the moment was not like a perfect foundation base in Xiaoxia's magical aura. She immediately grasped Xiaoxia's wrist, which was as white as jade, to examine her condition. She quickly saw that atop the perfect moon-white Dao platform in Xiaoxia's dantian, there was a clearly visible and significant crack. This, Yun Wanshang was taken aback. She had not expected her disciple's foundation establishment to be a success, and that the supreme mysterious Moon Dao Foundation had been condensed, yet there were flaws in the Dao Foundation. Shiyu, why has this happened? Yun Wanshang asked Xiaoxia. Although she had not cultivated the supreme forgetful love technique, she had studied it. She knew that this cultivation technique placed great emphasis on the state of mind. If the state of mind was not complete, foundation establishment would be difficult. And there was no such thing as achieving foundation establishment but with a flawed foundation base. Moreover, to have condensed a perfect foundation base and still have flaws was something she had never seen before. Master, it was only during the breakthrough in foundation establishment that I truly understood the real meaning of cloud without emotion, moon without emotion in the first layer of supreme forgetful love, where clouds and moon converge. The clouds envelop the moon illuminates the clouds, both with a semblance of separation and connection, one cold and silent, the other ethereal and unpredictable, both heartless. This represents cloud without emotion, moon without emotion. Chapter 337. The Seven Luminaries Stars Sword, Second Transformation Peach Blossom Gu. Disciple started off wrong. This also led to disciples' accidental success in foundation establishment, yet the Dao foundation is flawed. Xianxia slowly conveyed her own situation and her understanding of the supreme forgetful love technique to her master. What a Yun Wuqing Mingyue without love! Yun Wanshang couldn't help but sigh upon hearing this. She had previously seen through the layer of the supreme forgetful love technique that cloud and moon rely on each other. This is how she had instructed Xianxia. But she hadn't expected this interdependence to mean emotional detachment despite desire. She really didn't know how to evaluate this cultivation technique. She nodded and said, "Shiyu, rest assured, a damaged Dao foundation is not irreparable. As a teacher, I also know of several rare natural treasures that have the effect of repairing the Dao foundation, and I will find them for you when the time comes." Yun Wanshang said so. Xianxia was not only her direct disciple. In her view, this cultivation mistake and the damage to the Dao foundation were also related to her as a teacher. Initially, when she instructed Xianxia in her cultivation, she did not show the clear path. It was also because of her guidance that Xianxia took the wrong path. Master, disciple considers this to be a blessing in disguise. Xianxia gently shook her head, and a bright and gentle smile appeared on her cool face as the ice and snow melted away. Yun Wanshang looked at her disciple and was slightly taken aback upon hearing these words. One reason being that she didn't fully understand her disciple's meaning. Another was that it had been a long time since she had seen Xianxia smile like this. After mastering the supreme forgetful love technique, although Xianxia was not entirely cold-faced in front of her master, her expression only became somewhat gentler and was not usually like this. This made her realize that there must have been significant changes in her disciple following this foundation establishment. Master, although there are flaws in this foundation, it has led me to understand the true essence of the supreme forgetful love technique. I have also realized the meaning of the second level, cloud with affection, moon with affection. If your disciple can cultivate this level to perfection, there is hope to completely restore the Dao foundation. Xianxia said. She knew she couldn't hide the damage to her Dao foundation from her master, Yun Wanshang, so she was upfront about it. But the fact that Lu Changsheng could repair the Dao foundation was too astonishing. Therefore, she chose to attribute this to the supreme forgetful love technique. In the future, when her Dao foundation was restored to perfection, even taken a step further, she could have a reason to explain it. Moreover, she wanted to continue descending the mountain to cultivate with Lu Changsheng and needed her master Yun Wanshang's approval. It wasn't just about such cultivation in the marketplace. In the Qingyun sect, after a disciple succeeds in foundation establishment, the sect also arranges tasks. Even if she was the disciple of a nascent soul immortal. So she needed to speak openly about it to ask for her master's approval, to temporarily put aside her duties. Cloud with affection, moon with affection, repairing the Dao foundation on your own. Yun Wanshang was somewhat shocked upon hearing this. The supreme forgetful love technique seemed even more mysterious and profound in her heart. She wondered whether it was right or wrong to let Xianxia choose this cultivation technique initially. After all, even with her vision as a nascent soul immortal, she had not yet fathomed the true meaning of this technique. One can imagine its difficulty in cultivation. Based on the disciple's understanding of the supreme forgetful love technique's second level, cloud with affection, moon with affection. With the cloud's accompaniment, the moon shines more brightly, and with the moon's illumination, the cloud appears more lively and graceful. To people on the ground, both reflect each other's brilliance, creating a picture-perfect beauty in the azure sky. Therefore, Xianxia continued. She slowly expressed her understanding of the second level of the supreme forgetful love technique. The first level is desire without affection, making people forget love upon foundation establishment. The second level, however, fills the heart with affection beneath the veneer of forgetfulness. Yun Wanshang, as a nascent soul immortal, already had an understanding of the supreme forgetful love technique. Now, having heard her disciple's words, she instantly understood the meaning and the key points. After thinking it over, she found the supreme forgetful love deeply profound and elusive, hard to fully comprehend at once. There was a hint of recognizing the mountains as mountains, then not as mountains, and finally as mountains again. Shiyu, do you plan to descend the mountain again to cultivate with the help of that Lu Changsheng? Yun Wansheng also understood why her disciple had shared so much with her. It wasn't just a matter of reporting to her as a teacher. It was also about setting out her path of cultivation. Please, Master, approve. Xianxia bowed with her hands clasped. Yun Wansheng did not speak but looked at her disciple. She had come to terms with her own issues with Lu Changsheng. However, seeing her disciple increasingly involved with Lu Changsheng for the sake of cultivation, she couldn't help but be concerned. She wondered if her disciple could truly move on and achieve the true essence of supreme forgetfulness. Moreover, in cultivation, cause and effect are important. The debt of cultivation and the grace of being saved, Xianxia had repaid with the Sun Moon Dao Foundation. But if the cultivation continued like this, how would she repay the debt and resolve the cause and effect? Their eyes met. Looking into Xiaoxia's clear, water-like eyes, as serene as the 9 heavens bright moon, Yun Wansheng finally nodded. I permit it, she said. Take the token from your teacher, go to the record hall to register your cultivation level, and then be exempted from sect duties. Yun Wansheng took out a token and gave these instructions. Thank you, Master. Xiaoxia expressed her gratitude respectfully. Shiyu, the second level is cloud with affection, moon with affection, but the third level, cloud without affection, moon without affection, may well be the true supreme forgetfulness. Having listened to Xiaoxia's words, Yun Wansheng also had a deeper understanding of the later stages of the supreme forgetful love technique and advised accordingly. Please rest assured, Master. Xiaoxia understood her master's intentions and replied with a radiant smile. Chapter 338. This peach blossom luck is really a punishment. _1. Phew, looks like everything should be all right now. Atop the mountain, Lu Changsheng opened his eyes, exhaling lightly as the 2 middle-grade spirit stones in his hand turned to powder. He had stayed on this mountain for over half a month. Besides a few wild beasts coming to offer themselves as meals, no one had searched for him at all. So Lu Changsheng was also preparing to return. After all, if they really had the means, half a month was more than enough time to find him. The fact that no one came for so long also indicated that there was no trouble. Stepping out of the cave, Lu Changsheng released the iron feather eagle, ready to take off, when he saw flames reaching towards the sky from a small mountain village at the base of the mountain. What's happened there, bandits? Lu Changsheng's brows furrowed slightly as he looked carefully and faintly heard cries and screams. Seeing this, he put the iron feather eagle back into the spiritual pet bag and turned into a streak of escape light to check the situation. Although he wasn't someone who would normally intervene in others' affairs, this looked to be a raid by bandits, wielding torches and looting. He had heard about such things in his youth, before his memories were awakened. Now that he had come across it, he would lend a hand where he could. After all, to be human is to have basic morals. You don't spend years cultivating to become an immortal, only to look down on others, indifferent to the plight and death of ordinary people. Swoosh! Lu Changsheng became a beam of light speeding toward the village. Before he even got close, he saw a group of bandits dressed in black and riding on horses, slaughtering the villagers as cries and screams pierced the air. It's the horse bandits. Lu Changsheng's expression turned severe. Horse bandits were even more despicable than ordinary robbers and bandits. They had horses coming and going without a trace. Thus, while normal bandits would just raid nearby villages and then leave, it was a long-term infestation. But when horse bandits raided, it completely depended on their mood. Massacring entire villages was a common occurrence. Bold thieves, wantonly taking lives, meet your end. Lu Changsheng shouted from the sky. With the enhancement of his mana, his voice roared like thunder, resonating through the entire village. Not good, it's an immortal, everyone retreat quickly. A tall and muscular man with an ominous presence, wielding a 9-ring saber and one eye, heard the deafening voice and immediately panicked, his soul almost flying out of his body as he shouted loudly. However, before he had finished speaking, he saw a stark white flying sword coming straight at him. The next moment, pooh! A head soared up as blood sprayed. The other marauding bandits also became terrified upon hearing this command. Their faces filled with horror, they ran like dogs that had lost their homes. An immortal, it's an immortal. It's an immortal. I heard from Grandpa about legends of immortals who could fly with the wind. The immortal has come to save us. Woo, immortal, save us. The remaining villagers, hearing the shout, felt as if they had grasped a lifeline while drowning. They looked up at Lu Changxing in the sky, calling out loudly in prayer, kneeling and bowing. Pooh, pooh, pooh. Lu Changxing, dressed in his magical robe flapping in the wind, stood aloft in the air, his expression emotionless as the stark white flying sword, like a wandering dragon, unleashed its sword chi in sweeping slashes, killing one bandit after another. The bandits who had been arrogantly slaughtering the villagers were like chickens and ducks awaiting slaughter under Lu Changsheng's flying sword, falling dead immediately upon being struck by the sword chi. We blood cloud bandits were ignorant, unaware an immortal was passing by, and we wished to leave now. Please, Immortal, have mercy on us. Immortal, spare our lives. Spare us. The bandits knew that they couldn't resist someone with the capabilities of an immortal like Lu Changxing, and they begged loudly for their lives. But Lu Changxing showed no trace of compassion. If he hadn't happened to pass by today, the blood cloud bandits would have killed who knows how many people. At the very least, this village would not have been spared. The other villagers watching Lu Changxing slaying the bandits felt a surge of relief, but also couldn't help feeling terrified and their scalps numbed. Though the bandits deserved to die, Lu Changxing, with his indifferent expression and impassive demeanor, sword rising and falling like mowing grass, killing bandit after bandit, left them deeply shocked. They felt both respect and fear for this immortal. Shortly after, Lu Changxing had slain dozens of bandits. Looking at the flames burning in the village, he flicked his hand. Suddenly, mana spread from him like a hurricane, extinguishing the blazing flames. Then he helped some of the injured villagers, providing healing. Thank you, Immortal. Thank you. Thank you, Immortal. I will forever owe a life debt for your kindness. Thank you, Immortal. I'll install an altar in my home to pray for your safety. The villagers kneeled and thanked Lu Changxing in succession. They knew their own limitations. They knew they couldn't possibly help Lu Changxing, so they could only express their gratitude in this simplest of ways. Sigh. Lu Changxing looked at the many burned-down huts and dead bodies, and he let out a sigh. Even after so many years of cultivation and numerous experiences, his heart had grown much more indifferent than at first. But faced with such a scene, he couldn't help but feel a heavy weight in his heart. No matter whether it's the cultivation world or the secular world, those at the bottom always seem to have the hardest lives. It made him feel fortunate that he had encountered the chance to cultivate and reach this stage. Just as Lu Changxing finished aiding people and was about to leave, he noticed a little girl among the crowd kneeling before him. The girl looked to be about 10 years old. Her face was somewhat dirty, wearing ragged gray linen clothes. Yet from such a small girl, Lu Changxing felt an odd allure. This inexplicable sensation caused Lu Changxing to pause. As a man who had been through countless battles and seen all there is to see, Lu Changxing was quite confident about his ability to resist temptation when it came to the fairer sex. Su Er used to be a famous hunter in our village, but ever since the birth of this monster, his life became miserable. First, his wife died in childbirth while delivering their second child. Both the mother and child perished. After a few years, Su Er himself never returned from a hunting trip in the mountains. Granny Zhao, out of pity, adopted her, but when she was 7 or 8 she started growing scales on her body, just like snake scales. If that's not a monster, then what is? Moreover, after Granny Zhao adopted this monster, her son and his wife went to the city to work and they too have not returned. Now that our village was doing well, it suffered a bandit attack, which must surely be caused by this disaster star. A few villagers said, "Disaster star, monster." As for a monster, Lu Changxing couldn't deny it. After all, The girl's condition was indeed strange. But regarding the disaster star, he did not agree. In this era, especially for poor families, childbirth was fraught with great risk. And hunting in the mountains or working far from home also came with their own dangers. "What's your name? Would you like to leave with me?" Lu Changsheng asked the little girl, his tone gentle. He saw that the girl was extraordinary, problematic. Since this village couldn't accommodate her, he thought it best to take her away and care for her. And see exactly what the situation with this little girl was. Whether she possessed some special constitution or something else. The little girl, hearing Lu Changsheng's words, was slightly taken aback. She felt a warmth and peace from the young man that she had never experienced before. It was a kind of aura and feeling, like a spring breeze, making her subconsciously drawn to him, feeling a sense of goodwill. She didn't answer. She just timidly looked at the granny by her side. "Immortal, the child is very well behaved, not a monster," Granny Zhao, thinking that Lu Changsheng was about to exorcise a demon, cautiously said. She certainly knew that there was something wrong with the little girl. But after so many years together, she had long considered the little girl her own granddaughter. Not only was she obedient and well-behaved, but she also took the initiative to do farm work, laundry, and cooking. Usually, when she was wronged or bullied by other children, she would hold it in secretly and not tell anyone, which broke Granny Zhao's heart. As for her son and daughter-in-law's situation, although it was painful for her, every year some villagers followed trade caravans to work outside and never returned. So it wasn't entirely fair to blame the child. "Hee, I saw that this child has a connection with the Immortals, so I thought about taking her away," Lu Changsheng chuckled and said. "Connection with the Immortals? What? This girl actually has a connection with the Immortals? Immortal, could you have made a mistake?" The other villagers, upon hearing this, exclaimed with envy. "Girl, quickly accept the Immortal's offer." Upon hearing Lu Changsheng say the little girl had a connection with the Immortals, Granny Zhao immediately urged the little girl. "But I am a monster," the little girl said in a low voice. It wasn't that she didn't want to leave with Lu Changsheng, but she also felt inside that she was a monster and could bring trouble, feeling somewhat apprehensive. "I said you are not a monster. Would you like to leave with me?" Lu Changsheng continued. "The girl is willing to leave with the Immortal," the little girl said, looking up with a docile and timid demeanor. After speaking, her eyes were expectant, and her voice slightly stuttering and trembling, she added, "Immortal, could you also take Granny away with us?" "Not bad, your filial piety is commendable, naturally that is possible," Lu Changsheng said. Chapter 340. This peach blossom luck is really a punishment. Lu Changsheng nodded with a smile. The little girl was willing to leave with him, and it didn't matter to bring an old lady along. After all, it wasn't anything troublesome. He didn't plan to leave the little girl at Qingzhou Mountain. Instead, he intended to settle her in Rui Prefecture first. "Thank you, Immortal." "Thank you, Immortal." The little girl was thrilled. She hadn't expected Lu Changsheng to agree so readily. After all, her hesitation had also been due to her reluctance to leave Granny Zhao. Granny Zhao herself was happy and grateful. Her husband had long passed away, and her son and daughter-in-law had never returned, so naturally, she was willing to embrace this fortunate chance. "If that's the case, let's go." Seeing the old lady and the child ready, Lu Changsheng didn't say much more. With a slap of his storage bag, a spirit boat appeared. He possessed 2 spirit boats on him, but usually he found them too conspicuous and a waste of spirit stones. Plus, since they were ill-gotten, he rarely used them. Now that there were 2 more people and the iron feather eagle was inconvenient, he naturally used the spirit boat. With a wave of his sleeve, both were gently placed onto the spirit boat. Then, under the villagers' congratulations, Lu Changsheng steered the spirit boat upwards, turning into a streak of light, and flew toward Rui Prefecture. And at that moment, Lu Changsheng sensed that the peach blossom goo had gathered a strand of peach blossom luck. It meant that taking in the little girl counted as peach blossom fortune. This also counts as peach blossom luck. This is truly amusing. Could this be the mysterious and profound fortune ordained by fate? Because of the prosperous peach blossom luck, did I just happen to rest on this great mountain, just happen to take a half-month break, and just happen to encounter this event, meeting this little girl? Lu Changsheng thought to himself. Ever since he acquired the peach blossom goo, every time an incident like this occurred, Lu Changsheng would wonder if it was related to the peach blossom goo and if it was peach blossom luck. Now that he saw the peach blossom goo harvest peach blossom luck, he was certain it was. Especially just now, if not for the sudden allure he felt from the little girl, which revealed her abnormality, he wouldn't have noticed her. Lu Changsheng looked at the bashful little girl beside him and asked gently, "Little girl, you haven't told me your name yet." "I'm just called Girl." The little girl said. "Immortal, she doesn't have a name, she's just called Girl." Then, Granny Zhao cautiously added, "No name." Lu Changsheng was momentarily taken aback when he heard this. He also remembered that in the countryside, mean names were used for better survival until an older age when proper names were given. And many girls didn't even have mean names at all. If that's the case, shall I give you a name? How does that sound? Lu Changsheng looked at the little girl and said with a smile, "Girl, don't hesitate to accept and thank the Immortal for bestowing a name." Hearing this, Granny Zhao immediately told the little girl, "Thank you, Immortal." The little girl heard this and showed a hopeful happiness. Other children in the village had names, but she had always been without one. Sometimes she too wished for a name. "From now on, you shall be called by Ling, white as in the color, and Ling as in spirited. How does that sound?" Lu Changsheng, looking at the faint white scales on the girl's wrist, spoke out. "Bai Ling, girl, you are to be called Bai Ling from now on. Thank the Immortal promptly." Granny Zhao again told the little girl, "Bai Ling thanks the Immortal." The little girl, hearing her name, repeated it twice and said cheerfully. Lu Changsheng chuckled lightly, and then waved his sleeve. A breeze blew by. Swoosh, Bai Ling's dirty little face, as if washed by a spring, became clean and fair. Her features were delicate, and her eyes clear with distinct black and white. Especially her skin, which appeared extremely fair and smooth, like that of a porcelain doll. Although she was still in her worn gray cloth garments, she seemed like a completely different person, no longer resembling a girl from a small mountain village. "Immortal." Bai Ling glanced at her own palms and touched her reddening cheeks, somewhat shyly. She had discovered, at the age of 7 when scales began to grow on her, that her skin gradually became fair and tender. Her appearance also became more and more attractive. But Granny Zhao said this wasn't good and always smeared her with mud to cover it up. So now, with the dirt removed and her true face revealed, she was somewhat unaccustomed and felt shy. When Granny Zhao witnessed this scene, she was also quite astonished. She had always known that Bai Ling was pretty, especially her skin, which wasn't like that of a country folk but even better than the city ladies. So she smeared her with mud daily. Consequently, she had almost forgotten Bai Ling's naturally beautiful appearance. Viewing her like this now, she thought to herself, no wonder this Immortal took an interest in her. "Do not worry, from now on in my presence, there's no need to hide," Lu Changsheng said with a soft smile as he patted her head. Though she was but a little girl, the desire to be beautiful is common to all. She certainly would not like to have her face covered in mud all the time. Bai Ling will listen to the Immortal." Bai Ling obediently nodded her head. Her large eyes showed a gleam of delight. Just as Lu Changsheng had guessed, she also did not like that, having her face smeared with mud every day. Which girl doesn't love beauty? Buzz. At this moment, Lu Changsheng gave his storage bag another pat, and instantly, several exquisite and beautiful dresses appeared. "Which one do you like?" Lu Changsheng asked with a smile. He had bought dozens of vestment robes for his own children when he was in Qingyun Market. Now that he had picked up a lovely little girl, he naturally wouldn't be stingy with a vestment robe and wanted to dress her up beautifully. Moreover, having someone by his side, shouldn't he give her some benefits? "The Immortal will give me one?" Bai Ling looked at the colorful, exquisite dresses before her and immediately her eyes widened. She had never seen such pretty clothes in all her life. She didn't even know how to describe them, they were dazzling to her eyes. Why is the Immortal so nice to me? Her eyes suddenly moistened as she spoke. Apart from Granny Zhao, he was the first person to be so kind to her. They had just met, and not only had he given her a name but also a gift of such precious and beautiful clothing. She felt dizzy, almost too bashful to accept it. You were willing to follow me, so naturally I should be good to you, Lu Changxing said with a laugh as he ruffled her hair. Then he spoke in a warm voice. From now on, you can call me brother. Brother. Hearing this, Bai Ling paused, her heart beating with an inexplicable stir. Then she pursed her lips, calling out somewhat shyly, brother, ha, good, so pick one, Lu Changxing said, laughing as he ran his fingers through her hair again. Soon after, Bai Ling looked and finally chose a white dress. Because she had never worn such a clean dress before. Brother had also said she wouldn't need to be dirty anymore, so she wanted to stay clean always. Granny Zhao, watching this unfold, also felt immense emotions stir within her, happy for the child's future. Chapter 341. My son Pingon has the talent of a martial saint. _1 Lu Changxing could tell that Bai Ling and Granny Zhao had just gone through a significant upheaval and were physically and mentally exhausted, so they did not head directly to Rui Prefecture. The journey to Rui Prefecture from here would take roughly 3 to 4 days. The two of them were mere mortals, lacking the physical and mental stamina for such a trek. They promptly found a city to settle down in. He let them rest for a night and have a good meal. With Granny Zhao's help, Bai Ling changed into a beautifully ornate white fairy dress. Her lustrous black hair was tied in twin ponytails, making her look like a cute porcelain doll. Brother. She approached Lu Changxing timidly, her eyes filled with hope as she showed him her new clothes. But her entire demeanor was still very nervous, her small hands clutching the hem of her dress. Like a frightened little rabbit, she looked pitifully adorable. Little Linger is really cute. Lu Changxing smiled warmly at Bai Ling's timid and delicate appearance. He ruffled her little head, making a happy and contented smile appear on her cute face. Let's go, it's time to eat. Then, Lu Changxing took the little girl by the hand to have a meal. Just then, Lu Changxing noticed the slight scale patterns on Bai Ling's wrist and gave them a few glances. When the little girl saw Lu Changxing looking at the scales on her wrist, her face turned pale instantly. She quickly pulled down her sleeve to cover her wrist, her delicate body trembling, and spoke in a scared, anxious voice. Brother, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Seeing the little girl acting like this, her voice anxious and fearful, with a cry in her tone, Lu Changxing sighed softly. He knew that over the years, the little girl had endured much ridicule and indifferent stares because of those scales. It had made her extremely sensitive in this respect, having developed a conditioned response. He gently kneeled down. Looking at her face, full of fear and self-doubt, he carefully lifted her sleeve and, seeing the white snake scales, spoke in a gentle tone. How could this scare anyone? These scales are very pretty. Saying this, he gently stroked the scales with his hand. The white scales blended perfectly with her fair little arm, almost imperceptible unless closely examined. They felt slightly cool to the touch but not uncomfortable, quite smooth indeed. The little girl, her face full of fear, paused in surprise at his words. Ever since the scales had appeared on her body, even Granny Zhao had been a bit frightened at the time. Later, a boy from the village saw the scales on her arm and called her a monster. This led to the other villagers finding out, all of whom deemed her a monster. She had even thought about cutting the scales off with a knife. But each time she tried, it would be a bloody mess and the scales would grow back soon after, leaving no scars. It was only after Granny Zhao comforted her and said it was okay that she gradually accepted the scales. Yet, these scales remained a lump in her heart, always covered by clothes and not something she wanted others to see. Lu Changxing was the first to say that the scales, which even she was concerned and frightened by, were very pretty. At that moment, the little girl's insecure and fragile heart experienced an inexplicable feeling. Her clear eyes, black and white like peach blossoms, teared up and looked at Lu Changxing as if intoxicated but not, asking timidly, "Brother, do you really not find it scary?" Lu Changxing, seeing the clear distinction in Bai Ling's eyes, suddenly sensed an enchanting allure, bewitching and deeply moving. It made his mental spirit ripple, and he was momentarily distracted. This, if it weren't for checking with his divine sense multiple times, confirming that she was just an ordinary little girl, Lu Changxing might have thought she was using a bewitching technique. However, the charm disappeared in an instant. The distinction in her eyes remained pitifully innocent. The allure he had just felt seemed like an illusion, as if it had never been there. How could it be scary? "I think it's very pretty," Lu Changxing said, looking at the timid and fragile girl while smiling gently. He was even more surprised at her condition. It had actually made him, a Foundation establishment great cultivator, slightly distracted in her presence. He didn't look any further, knowing the little girl couldn't adapt all at once. He pulled Bai Ling's sleeve back down and then ruffled her little head again, smiling, "Little Linger, don't pay too much attention to what others think. If brother says it's pretty, then it's pretty, understand?" Listening to Lu Changxing's gentle words, Bai Ling felt as if she were basking in the spring breeze, quietly serene and peaceful in her heart. She then nodded vigorously. "Let's go, it's time to eat," he said, taking the little girl's hand to dine. Outside the room, Granny Zhao looked at this scene and also breathed a sigh of relief. She did not know what the Immortal had seen in Bai Ling, whether he would dislike her because of Bai Ling's condition. But at this moment, she felt that the scales on Bai Ling's body shouldn't be a bad thing. Otherwise, this Immortal wouldn't have taken an interest in her. Soon after, the trio went to a private room to eat. Facing a table full of exquisite delicacies, Bai Ling and Granny Zhao were dazzled and appeared a bit restrained. Lu Changxing told them to make themselves at home, chatting with them while they ate, and began to inquire about some things. Through the conversation, Lu Changxing gained a rough understanding of Bai Ling's situation. She was 11 years old. She lost her mother at 2 and her father at 5. After begging for food for a while, she was taken in by Granny Zhao. For some unknown reason, at the age of 7, Bai Ling discovered scales beginning to appear on her wrist. Then, scales gradually started to appear on her neck, shoulders, and lower legs as well. These white scales terrified and frightened her. However, the scales didn't cause any unusual symptoms in her body. If anything, they seemed to make her grow even whiter and more delicate, and she was much stronger than her peers. 7 years old, Lu Changxing paused for a moment when he heard this age. In the cultivation world, children could be tested for their spiritual root when they reached the age of 5 or 6. Chapter 342. My son Pingon has the talent of a martial saint. The matter of the spiritual body is much more complicated. Some are born with unusual phenomena, some are almost the same as the spiritual root. There are also those who only awaken their spiritual body in their 40s or even requires some sort of opportunity. If one were to say that the awakening of the spiritual body at the age of 7 caused scales to grow, that still makes sense. But Lu Changxing had also read quite a bit about the spiritual body in various books. As for Bai Ling's situation, it was simply unheard of. The cultivation world is vast and wondrous. Not only can she charm me, but she can also conceal her own spiritual root, which is definitely not simple. Lu Changxing didn't dwell on it too much, deciding to keep her with him for now. He would teach her cultivation later. After eating quite a bit, Lu Changxing noticed that Bai Ling had quite the appetite, even larger than that of an average adult. At that moment, Bai Ling also realized that Lu Changxing had hardly eaten anything. While she nibbled away, she never stopped, and the table was piled with leftovers, making her small face blush with shame. Immortal, the girl's appetite is a bit bigger than the average person's. Unfortunately, following this old woman, she has never been able to eat her fill. Old Lady Zhao spoke up. "No worries, having a good appetite is a blessing. Linger, eat more, if it's not enough, order more." Lu Changxing waved his hand and said with a smile to Bai Ling. The little girl was in her growth phase, and being able to eat more was definitely a good thing. Then he turned to Old Lady Zhao and said, Old Lady Zhao, you don't need to call me Immortal anymore. Simply address me as Master from now on. When they entered the city earlier, Lu Changxing had noticed that Bai Ling severely lacked a sense of security and was somewhat socially anxious. When the glances of passers-by landed on her, her delicate body would tremble slightly, displaying fear. Lu Changxing guessed that this was an aftereffect of her previous life in the village. He also planned to continue to have Old Lady Zhao take care of her, keeping their shared life. Once Bai Ling's situation improved, he would consider bringing her to the Lu residence. Yes, Master. Old Lady Zhao quickly nodded in response. After a full night's rest with plenty to eat and drink, Lu Changxing prepared food for their journey and resumed his travels towards Rui County City in his flying boat. 4 days later, the spirit boat stopped outside of Rui County City. Lu Changxing took Bai Ling and Old Lady Zhao down from the spirit boat. Is my brother's house here? Bai Ling asked timidly upon seeing the grand and imposing city ahead. Yes, Linger. From now on, you and Old Lady Zhao will live here temporarily. Lu Changxing smiled and nodded, taking out a transmission talisman to contact Hong Yi. One reason was to ask Hong Yi for assistance with arrangements. Also, he hadn't seen him for a long time and wanted to catch up. Suddenly, as if remembering something, his body surged with a white light, and he reverted to his true appearance. Before this, Lu Changxing had always been using a disguised appearance. Even during their rest along the journey, he had not reverted back to his real face. Brother! Bai Ling, upon seeing Lu Changxing's true face, opened her mouth in an O shape, totally astonished. Old Lady Zhao was also surprised, thinking to herself that indeed he was a true immortal. She had never seen such a handsome person before. Brother usually conceals his appearance as well. Lu Changxing said with a light chuckle, and then took Bai Ling's small hand and walked towards Rui County City. Brother is so handsome, Bai Ling said softly, tilting her head up slightly as she was led by the hand, a blush spreading on her face. Rui Prefecture was bustling with life, people coming and going on the streets, never ending. However, Lu Changxing had used his mana to conceal his aura, reducing his presence. But even so, with his handsome face, upright stature, and elegant and uncommon demeanor, many women on the street couldn't help but stop and gaze at him longingly. Walking through the city, Bai Ling looked around at the busy crowd and couldn't help but feel nervous, clutching Lu Changxing's hand tightly. It wasn't long before Hong Yi arrived swiftly. Brother Lu, who is this? Hong Yi, looking at Bai Ling whom Lu Changxing was holding hands with, was somewhat astounded. He was already used to Lu Changxing bringing along ladies, but her age and appearance didn't seem to fit the role of a daughter. And to say concubine, she seemed too young. This is a sister I recognized, named Bai Ling. I plan to have her temporarily stay here and will need Brother Hong's help in looking after her, Lu Changxing said, briefly explaining the situation of Bai Ling and Old Lady Zhao. I see, Hong Yi replied after listening, not asking further. Not far from the Lu residence, he arranged a quiet courtyard for Old Lady Zhao and Bai Ling. He also arranged for a maid and an old woman to serve the two. Brother Lu, have you just come back from traveling? Hong Yi asked Lu Changxing after settling the two in. How did you know, Brother Hong? Lu Changxing asked, raising an eyebrow. 5 months ago, Brother Li returned for a visit. Seeing you didn't come over, and since I had some free time, I went with Brother Li to the Red Maple Marketplace, but Miss Lu said you were out traveling, Hong Yi said. Feiyu came back? Where is he now, in the Red Maple Marketplace, or did he leave? Lu Changxing asked, pausing at Hong Yi's words. It had been 5 months since he and Xianxia left the Red Maple Marketplace. He didn't expect Li Feiyu to have returned right during that time. Brother Li came back this time to say farewell before heading to the Azure Phoenix Immortal City, so he left after waiting a month, Hong Yi said with a sigh, feeling a sense of reverence. He revered Li Feiyu's actions after realizing the reality that he didn't pass the selection for the immortal sex. He had given up unrealistic dreams of cultivation, intending only to inherit his father's title as the Marquis of Rui and to break through to the energy refinement late stage in his lifetime. As for Li Feiyu, after spending so many years in the cultivation world without success, He still had full determination. Now he was even setting out to make his way in the Azure Phoenix Immortal City, a holy place for loose cultivators, which left Hong Yi feeling wistful. Chapter 343. My son Pingon has the talent of a martial saint. Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing sighed. Li Feiyu had mentioned before that he planned to venture into the Azure Phoenix Immortal City. However, prior to that, he would gain experience in other places and get a glimpse of the cultivation world. Lu Changxing hadn't expected that by the time Li Feiyu returned from his cultivation journey, he himself would just happen to be away for foundation establishment, causing the two of them to miss meeting each other again. Brother Li must have experienced quite a lot on this journey. Moreover, with Brother Li's temperament, he might even make a name for himself and establish his immortal foundation. Knowing the deep relationship between Lu Changxing and Li Feiyu, clearly better than the one with himself, Hong Yi spoke out to console him. He then spoke of some changes in Li Feiyu. He indicated that Li Feiyu was indeed extraordinary, having been out cultivating for over 2 years. His cultivation level was about to break through the 6th level energy refinement. But hearing this, Lu Changxing felt even heavier at heart. In the cultivation world, if one wants to quickly improve one's cultivation level, the options are spiritual medicines, elixir medicines, or fortuitous opportunities. Li Feiyu's acquisition of resources certainly couldn't have come from his few skills as a spirit plant gatherer or a spiritual butcher. It must have been earned through risking his life. After chatting for a long while, the two parted ways. Walking on the way home, Lu Changxing looked at the vast, turbulent canal behind the Lu residence and suddenly let out a deep sigh. Life is as the tidal flows and people as water, only to lament how few return from the rivers and lakes. After arriving home, Lu Changxing, somewhat melancholic, saw his children and realized how quickly time passes. The older ones had grown up to his shoulder height. Pingon, what are your plans for the future? Lu Changxing, with his arm around his son Lu Pingan's shoulder, asked. He knew that he had been somewhat negligent as a father. When Lu Pingan and the younger ones were small, he had been more attentive. But as the children grew older and more numerous, the less attention he paid. Usually, on a whim when he had spare time, he would show some concern. Dad, you've said, read thousands of books and travel thousands of miles. In thinking of traveling in a few years to see the world, Lu Pingan, unsure why his father was suddenly asking this, scratched his head and spoke somewhat embarrassedly. As the saying goes, one should not travel far while one's parents are alive. Being the eldest son at home, he felt such behavior was not quite appropriate. But since his father asked, he didn't hold back. It would be good for you to travel around, but wait a few more years until you've broken through to the innate realm before you go, Lu Changxing said. These children lacked freedom, in fact. They stayed on Qingzhou Mountain when they were young. When they were slightly older, they stayed in Rui County City. Their days were filled with studying and practicing martial arts, with rare opportunities to go out. Wanting to go out and explore the world is normal. He wouldn't stop them from doing such a thing. After all, the children were growing up and should become independent. This kind of experience is part of the necessary journey of growth. The reason he mentioned the innate realm is that innate martial artists can use innate true qi to activate first-grade low and middle-grade talismans. By then, he would be much more at ease with Lu Pingan traveling in the Jianghu. Yes, Dad, I should be able to break through to the innate realm in at most 3 years, Lu Pingan said with some excitement. He had recently become a first-rate master in the martial artist community. One more step, and he would be an innate master of the Jianghu. So, in his view, his father's requirement was not difficult. Good, my son Pingon has the qualities of a martial saint. Lu Changxing, upon hearing this, patted his son's shoulder and teased. When Li Feiyu became a first-rate master at 18, he was considered a genius. Now his son had become a first-rate master at 13. However, Lu Changxing was also aware that his son's martial talent had little to do with his aptitude. 3 parts training, 7 parts feeding. Purely thanks to his own older father spending money. Martial saint, Dad, is martial saint a martial realm above the great masters of the innate realm? Lu Pingan, upon hearing this, immediately asked. He had heard that the great martial masters could compare to some cultivators. Now hearing about this martial saint, he became curious. He wanted to know if a martial saint was as formidable as a cultivator. It should be, right? Lu Changxing said offhandedly. He was just making a playful guess, not knowing anything about a martial saint. He didn't expect that his son, who was missing a beat, would actually not catch the joke and instead asked him if there was a martial realm called martial saint. But looking into his son's eyes, he roughly understood what his son was thinking. Although the children had accepted the reality that they didn't have spiritual roots and couldn't cultivate, they still harbored fantasies about it. He let out a slight sigh and changed the subject. Pingan, if there's anything you lack, like when breaking through to the innate realm, isn't there something called the innate elixir? If I'm not around, you can go directly to Uncle Hong and ask for it when the time comes. Don't be shy. Also, when you plan to go out, don't just run off without saying hello. Remember to write me a letter to let me know. Lu Changxing said to his son. Don't worry, Dad, I understand. Lu Pingan nodded and said. Lu Changxing patted his son's shoulder. He was quite confident in his eldest son, who had an honest character and would listen to what he said. Wu Yu, what are your plans for the future? Lu Changxing then turned to his other two children and asked. Dad, I also want to travel the Jianghu, but I don't know how many years it will take to break through to the innate realm, so maybe I'll go with Brother Pingan, Lu Wuyo said, grinning. That depends on whether your brother Pingan is willing to take you. Besides, your brother Pingan hasn't even traveled far himself yet, and then he'd have to carry you, a burden. Lu Changxing, hearing his daughter's words, laughed and said, No worries, if Wuyo's sister wants to brave the Jianghu, let me go out and check it first. Then he'll come back and accompany Sister Wuyo together. Chapter 344. My son Pingan has the talent of a martial saint. _4. Lu Pingan immediately said, as the eldest son, under Lu Lanche's tutelage, he still had a strong sense of responsibility as a big brother. Thank you, Brother Pingan. Lu Wuyo immediately clung to Lu Pingan's arm, pouted playfully at Lu Changxing, prompting Lu Changxing to smile warmly, and then looked towards Lu Wuyo, saying, You don't plan on trying your luck in the Jianghu as well, do you? Second brother said he wants to be a county magistrate in the future, to govern a place and bring blessings to the people. Lu Wuyo immediately spoke up first. Not bad, that's a good aspiration. After a few years, speak to your Uncle Hong. Then, you can follow him and learn, Lu Changxing said to his second son. He approved of Hong Yi's character and conduct. He felt his children could learn something from following Hong Yi. In this manner, Lu Changxing discussed the present, the future, and dreams with his children. He did not forget Bai Ling. Over these few days, he took time to see Bai Ling and foster a relationship with her. And he also brought her to meet his several daughters. So they could keep each other company normally, play together, chat, and it would be easier for her to integrate into the family. After living in Rui County City for 10 days, Lu Changxing, amid the reluctant farewells of everyone, returned to Qingzhou Mountain. Having had no news from Lu Changxing for over 5 months, naturally, his wives and concubines worried. If not for Lu Miaoge saying everything was fine and that Lu Changxing had gone traveling with a good friend, they would have assumed something untoward had happened to him. Seeing Lu Changxing return now, they all expressed their concern and care. Lu Changxing had to invent a whole narrative explaining his journey, and only after working hard into the evening did he manage to placate his wives and concubines. After spending several days appeasing his wives and concubines, Lu Changxing also began to focus on his children. Now that his son, Lu Xianji, had started cultivating after drawing qi into his body, naturally, Lu Changxing was full of encouragement and even awarded him a vestment robe and a lower-quality flying sword magic artifact as a reward. He hoped his son would cultivate diligently to reach the 3rd-level energy refinement soon. This scene made the other siblings envious and many wives, concubines, and maids secretly wished their own children would strive and excel. But the second child with a spiritual root, Lu Chuanjin, was only 10 years old. He still had more than a year before reaching the age to start cultivation. Lu Changsheng looked forward to his children's achievements, filled with anticipation. He wondered how many achievements he would get for the number of his children who could draw qi into their bodies, or whether there were achievements for when a child reached the energy refinement middle stage or energy refinement late stage. Afterward, Lu Changsheng chatted and shared heart-to-heart talks with his children, paying attention to their situations. Thanks to the overall atmosphere of the Lu family and Lu Miao's attentive management of the backyard, he thought that the children, regardless of their personalities, had not developed any noticeable distortions and were doing pretty well. If there was any issue, it was that the children of concubines and maids were relatively less close to him, their father. They felt more awe than affection for him. Concerning this, Lu Changsheng understood the situation. Be it his wives or his children, he could not treat everyone equally. Often with his children, it was either about their spiritual root or their mother's status. So even though he was easygoing with his children, the lack of regular contact naturally led to a decrease in closeness. Under the influence of the atmosphere and their mother's teachings, an image of dignity had formed in the children's minds. Even though he knew about this issue, Lu Changsheng had no way to improve it. He now had 117 children. 28 of them had spiritual roots. Even if he only cared for those with spiritual roots, he didn't have the time and energy. All he could do was to pay a bit more attention to the children and try to ensure they didn't go astray. After finishing the heartfelt discussions with his wives and children, Lu Changsheng also remembered his golden armor bean mother. He dug a hole in his courtyard, poured in some second-rank spiritual earth, and planted the golden armor bean mother. He also asked Lu Miaoyun to water and look after it on his behalf regularly. After all, the earlier it was planted, the sooner it would sprout. It couldn't be grown inside the spiritual pet bag. Lu Miaoyun, although unsure of what kind of seed it was, remembered her husband's instructions and resolved to care for it well. In the following time, Lu Changsheng was dedicated to child rearing in Qingzhou Mountain. He planned to keep shuttling between Qingzhou Mountain and the Red Leaf Valley Market once he received news from Xianxia. Chapter 345. The number 1 Talisman Path Practitioner of the Lu family, crafting the 7 Luminaries Heart Lamp. _1. Qingyun Sect. Sutra Pavilion. Xianxia, are you sure you want to choose such a technique? The guardian elder looked at the 3 techniques Xianxia had chosen. Upon seeing one of them, a strange expression crossed his face. Mastering one spell can help understand all spells. The cultivation technique I practice requires comprehension of various techniques, so I choose this one. Xiaoxia's demeanor was cool and holy, her expression calm as she made a slight bow and spoke. Since you've made up your mind, Xiaoxia, this old man naturally won't say more. However, you should be aware of our Qingyun sect's rules. You must swear an oath to the heart demon that no cultivation techniques shall be leaked. The guardian elder, seeing Xiaoxia's disposition, spoke no further, merely nodding slightly. Thank you, elder. Xiaoxia nodded, took the heart demon oath to keep the cultivation techniques confidential, and then left promptly. It seems that foundation establishment does have a significant impact on childbearing. Lu Changsheng had returned to Qingzhou Mountain for over a month now. In this past month, he had hardly practiced cultivation. Apart from making talismans, he had spent all his time on trivial matters with his wives and children and on childbearing efforts. Yet despite trying hard for a month, only 3 concubines became pregnant. He realized that this must be due to his breakthrough to foundation establishment. As cultivators enhance their cultivation level, each breakthrough in a major realm makes it more difficult to sire offspring, a common sense in the cultivation world. However, the higher the cultivation level of the parents, the higher their strength, and the higher the probability that the children born will possess spiritual roots and of better quality. Now that I've broken through to foundation establishment, plus the system's boost of a 5% probability for spiritual roots, the probability and quality of my children's spiritual roots should also significantly improve. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. Although he had been diligently engaged in childbearing this month, He also adhered to the principle of optimal breeding. All 3 children were conceived by concubines with spiritual roots. Therefore, there was a reasonable probability that the children too would possess spiritual roots. If she, you, and I were to have a child, it should be of good aptitude, I reckon. At that moment, Lu Changsheng thought of Xianxia. She not only possessed a 4th-grade spiritual root and a moonlight spirit body, but she was also a foundation establishment cultivator. If the 2 were to have offspring, it would most likely result in a child with spiritual roots and one of commendable aptitude. Yet he also knew that having a child with Xianxia at this point would be quite difficult. Childbearing would delay several years of cultivation, and her master was unlikely to agree. Husband, grandmother has come over. It seems she has something to discuss with you. Lu Miaoyun came to the backyard at that moment, informing Lu Changsheng. Something to discuss with me? Surprised by the news, Lu Changsheng followed Lu Miaoyun to the main hall. In the hall, the 4th elder was sipping tea. The elderly person was now 90 years old. The once plump and aged face had aged considerably. The now completely white hair had once shown mere streaks of gray. Grandmother. Lu Changsheng immediately greeted her with a bow. Changsheng. The 4th elder nodded approvingly, her face wearing a loving smile. After chatting about family matters for a while, she disclosed her purpose for visiting. She indicated that she was getting older and was preparing to step down from her position as family elder. Therefore, she was preparing to recommend Lu Changsheng for the position of the elder within the family. At the same time, she hoped Lu Changsheng would instruct the Lu family's youth in talisman making when he had the time. Taking the position of elder, instructing the Lu family disciples in talisman making. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng pondered for a moment. If given the choice, he would definitely not want to take on this responsibility. Because right now, he truly was very busy. He needed to make talismans, refine the 9 treasure jade rui, pay attention to his children, engage in childbearing, and cultivate himself. In the past month since his return, he had devoted almost all his time and thoughts to his wives and children and had barely practiced cultivation. He hadn't even managed to cultivate the 7 luminaries heart lamp technique to this day. Taking on the role of elder would consume even more of his time and energy. However, the 4th elder's plea was earnest, making it hard for him to refuse outright. After all, the elderly deserved to retire and enjoy her remaining years. Additionally, in the Lu family, being a cultivation family, the elder usually was someone from within the family ranks. Changsheng, instructing the disciples in talisman making is mainly about giving lectures to enlighten them and to see if they have any talent for the talisman path. If they have talent, it would be just like when grandmother taught you and Sister Miaoga, it won't take too much time. The 4th elder saw Lu Changsheng's hesitation and continued speaking. Her tone was gentle and loving, with a hint of hope and plea in her eyes. Grandmother, instructing in talisman making is naturally no problem. As for the position of elder, please give it to Miaoga. As you know, I have no great ambitions and don't like dealing with affairs normally. Lu Changsheng met the elder's gaze and spoke. Since the elder had put it that way, he felt he couldn't outright refuse. Taking just a bit of time to lecture and share knowledge of the talisman path with the Lu family disciples wasn't too demanding. He considered it a way of contributing a bit more to the Lu family. Besides, it wasn't something he could easily shrug off. Lu Changsheng knew very well that if he declined, the duty would ultimately fall on his wife, Lu Miaoga. He hoped for Lu Miaoga to have fewer worries and to focus more on her own cultivation. Given that, he might as well accept on her behalf. Moreover, he was accustomed to providing such enlightenment to his own children, so it amounted to teaching a few more. Changsheng, this position of elder is not only grandmother's wish but also the intent of the family head and the other family elders. Moreover, this elder position is really just a title and doesn't come with many duties. Miaoga will have other arrangements in the family in the future. The 4th elder patted Lu Changsheng's hand and whispered softly. Chapter 346. The number 1 Talisman Path Practitioner of the Lu family, crafting the 7 luminaries heart lamp. Lu Changsheng understood upon hearing this that the position of family elder was the Lu family's way of further pulling him in. Otherwise, there was no such thing as inheritance of the elder's position. It couldn't be decided by the 4th elder alone. It required a vote from all the Lu family elders. Grandmother, since you have said so, Changsheng naturally accepts. Seeing the old woman's kind face, Lu Changsheng didn't refuse any longer and nodded his agreement. Good, this matter will be decided at this year's family gathering. It will be hard work for you then, Changsheng. Upon seeing Lu Changsheng accept, the 4th elder's face broke into a smile. Such a matter was significant and naturally wouldn't be decided on the spot. She had come to give a heads up so that Lu Changsheng could be prepared. Grandmother, it's not hard at all, Lu Changsheng said with a slight smile, shaking his head. Changsheng, how are you doing with the 1st grade supreme talisman now? At that moment, the 4th elder started to show her usual concern for Lu Changsheng's talisman-making skill. She would ask about Lu Changsheng's progress in talisman-making every half-year or so. Half a year ago, Lu Changsheng had already revealed skill almost comparable to that of the 4th elder. I still need grandmother's guidance. Without saying much, Lu Changsheng showed his own talisman-making skill to the 4th elder. Now that he had broken through foundation establishment, he felt bold enough to be a bit more daring. He planned to accelerate his progress in the talisman path. In a few years, he would reveal his 2nd grade talisman-making skill to the public. Very good, very good. The 4th elder was thrilled and full of approval as Lu Changsheng successfully drew a 1st grade supreme talisman, her face alight with excitement. She could see that Lu Changsheng's skill in making talismans was in no way inferior to her own. The talisman, even if she were to draw it herself, would not surpass the proficiency shown by Lu Changsheng, or might even be inferior. Lu Miaoyun, who stood to one side, although not fully understanding, was also filled with joy and happiness. She knew that her husband's skill in the talisman path had improved again. Over the years, she had watched as Lu Changsheng's talisman path skills steadily improved. Changsheng, in the future for talisman making, there's nothing much grandmother can teach you, you must rely on yourself. This purple one is the inheritance for our Lu family's 2nd grade high-quality talisman master. This white one contains my own annotations and understandings of the talisman master inheritance over the past few decades. Now, take them and study well. The only thing grandmother wishes now is to see you become a 2nd-rank talisman master. The 4th elder straightened the storage bag and took out a white jade case. Inside were 2 jade slips she passed to Lu Changsheng with a solemn expression. Lu Changsheng, seeing her expression, knew that this must be the most precious thing the old woman possessed. After all, it was extremely difficult for ordinary cultivators to acquire advanced cultivation techniques and 2nd-rank skills inheritance. Not just because they were expensive. It was also because there were very few available in the market. This inheritance for the 2nd grade high-quality talisman master was probably the foundational inheritance of the Lu family's talisman path. Grandmother, Changsheng will certainly not disappoint your expectations. Lu Changsheng nodded emphatically, accepting with both hands respectfully. Very good, very good. The 4th elder joyfully patted Lu Changsheng on the shoulder, not saying much more on the subject. After briefly chatting for a while, she went to visit several of her other grandsons. As the old woman aged, her fondness for the children grew even more. Lu Yun, Lu Miaoyun's eldest son, was also 9 years old this year. Having been discovered to have a 7th grade spiritual root, he was very much loved by the 4th elder. However, Lu Miaoyun's 2nd child did not have a spiritual root, and the 3rd child only had a 9th grade spiritual root, causing both Lu Miaoyun and the elder a bit of disappointment. Congratulations to my husband. After the 4th elder departed, Lu Miaoyun congratulated Lu Changsheng with a joyous face. Her husband was not only making rapid progress in the art of talisman making, but he was also about to become a family elder, which as his wife, naturally seemed like a great cause for celebration. She felt proud and happy for her husband's achievements. Indeed, it is something to celebrate, Lu Changsheng replied, smiling and nodding. Even if he was indifferent to the elder position, it was indeed a happy event for a normal person, and it would seem somewhat remiss if he appeared too calm about it. Before long, Lu Miaoyun announced the news within the household. "Congratulations to my husband, congratulations, father, congratulations, daddy." The wives and children in the back courtyard, upon hearing the news, were all very happy, offering their congratulations to Lu Changxing. Their thoughts and understanding were similar to those of Lu Miaoyun. They felt that becoming a family elder was something very extraordinary and honorable. Now that their own husband and father were about to become a Lu family elder, it was naturally a remarkable achievement. Lu Changxing, seeing his wives' and children's happy faces, couldn't help but feel joyful, a smile spreading across his face. "The matter hasn't been decided yet, it's enough that we know ourselves." He waved his hand and thought to himself that if they knew he, their husband and father, was already a foundation establishment great cultivator, they would be even more astonished. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Inside the practice room, Lu Changxing sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, the 7 luminaries' stars appearing tirelessly in his mind along with endless sword qi. Countless strands of sword qi gathered in his dantian, slowly forming an ancient lamp with 7 star-like flames circulating around it. 7 luminaries' heart lamp. With spiritual light in the heart as the wick and mana as the oil, a flicker of mental spirit ignites the heart lamp, dispelling elixir toxicity, protecting mental spirit, clarifying the mind to see one's true nature, and warding off external demons, should it be forged into a life-bound spiritual artifact, and with heavenly silver as the oil, it could hasten cultivation, refine mana, and make one's foundations even more pure. Furthermore, when facing an enemy, stirring the mana can unleash boundless sword qi to attack, making it a versatile tool suitable for offense, defense, and cultivation. Chapter 347. The number 1 talisman path practitioner of the Lu family, crafting the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. After a long time, Lu Changxing slowly opened his eyes, inspected his dantian where the 7 luminaries' heart lamp had condensed, exhaled lightly, and his face revealed a look of joy. Through over half a month of secluded and arduous cultivation, he had finally succeeded in condensing the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. Next, he could spend materials to forge this 7 luminaries' heart lamp into his life-bound spiritual artifact. However, he did not start the forging right away. Because such a task could not be completed in a short time, and it was not possible to interrupt the process. He would need to be in seclusion for several months to accomplish it. Now Lu Changxing was beginning to understand why cultivators were beyond the constraints of time. He didn't even have to spend time comprehending and learning the method to condense this 7 luminaries' heart lamp. Just visualizing the 7 luminaries, condensing sword qi, and forging the heart lamp had already taken over half a month of his time. If it were an ordinary person, they would have to be in seclusion for at least 3 or 4 months, or even half a year, to condense this lamp. Sigh, no wonder cultivators cannot have too many distractions and trivial matters. With too many trivial matters, it's really hard to focus on cultivation. Lu Changxing sighed, stepping out of the practice room. He immediately went to the residence of the 4th elder to inquire about teaching the Lu family disciples about the talisman path. He planned to teach this class and then use seclusion to break through to the 7th level energy refinement as a pretext to forge the 7 luminaries' heart lamp, his life-bound spiritual artifact. After all, the 7 luminaries' heart lamp was beneficial to cultivation, and the sooner it was forged, the better. Let the family head know later, and you can start teaching tomorrow at Qingzhou Villa. Upon hearing Lu Changxing's intentions, the 4th elder said so. The next day, the sun shone brightly. The 4th elder then arrived at Lu Changxing's residence. In addition to the 4th elder, there was also a man in his 30s with a handsome and refined appearance, wearing a blue shirt and greeting them courteously. This man was the Lu family's young family head, Lu Miaocheng. By this year's family meeting, he would become the new family head of the Lu family. It wasn't that Lu Yuanding had done anything wrong. Instead, the term of the family head of the Lu family lasted for 20 years. This year happened to mark the end of Lu Yuanding's 20-year tenure, so he would step down to serve as an elder. Grandma, young family head. Lu Changxing greeted the fourth elder and Lu Miaochang with a bow. Changxing. The two also nodded to Lu Changxing in return. This young family head was Lu Yuanding's nephew. That's why his temperament was somewhat similar to Lu Yuanding's. He was polite and dignified in his dealings, making him a very comfortable person to be around. Both had come for the Talisman Path class. Since it was Lu Changsheng's first time teaching, the fourth elder had to come to oversee things. As for the young family head, he was there to set the scene and check on the situation, so that none of the family disciples would misbehave and offend Lu Changxing, the future elder and talisman master. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing also called his sons Lu Xinji and Lu Chuanjin to come along. He had already noticed that both of his sons lacked talent in the talisman path. But lack of talent aside, as cultivators, having more understanding of talismans was not a bad thing. Everyone made their way to Qingzhou Villa. Uncle Fu. Lu Changxing greeted the steward of Qingzhou Villa as he saw Uncle Fu. The old man had also aged significantly and was currently in a semi-retired state. Fourth elder, young family head, Changxing. Uncle Fu greeted the three of them. He felt somewhat sentimental inside. The once son-in-law of the Lu family had now become a core member. In the realm of talismans, he had surpassed Sister Miaoga in the Lu family to replace the fourth elder as the #1 person in the Lu family. He led the three to a large hall in Qingzhou Villa. Inside, there were more than 20 Lu family disciples. The youngest were 11 or 12 years old, and the oldest were only 15 or 16. We pay our respects to the fourth elder, Uncle Miaochang, Elder Miaochang, Teacher Lu. After receiving the message the day before, these Lu family disciples knew that Lu Changxing would be teaching talisman making. Their elders at home had also instructed them to be polite and respectful to Lu Changxing. After all, during the battle where the Lu family vanquished the Chen family, the older generation of the Lu family knew just how substantial this son-in-law was. He was not only extraordinarily gifted in the talisman path, earning the favor of the Lu family ancestor who personally bestowed the marriage, but he also had a deep relationship with the foundation establishment great cultivator. Xianji, Chuanjin, find a place to sit down. Lu Changxing said to his two sons, then started the class. With his second-rank talisman-making skill, his foundation in this basic knowledge was exceptionally solid. The theoretical aspects were also articulated as if he had a full set of instructions. He was nothing like the fourth elder, who relied on slow self-study and could not compare to his finely honed approach. Therefore, in terms of enlightening and lecturing the newcomers on the talisman path, he could not be better suited. Lu Changxing did not hold back his skills, teaching in a straightforward and comprehensible manner, fluid and natural. Moreover, in the classroom, he broke down the steps of basic talismans for everyone, teaching them bit by bit, to the point that these children and youths were utterly enraptured. This, even the fourth elder, upon hearing Lu Changxing's lecture and the dissection of the talisman steps, couldn't help but be surprised. She felt that Lu Changxing's instruction was simply flawless, with not a single fault to find. She even experienced the sensation of reviewing old knowledge and coming to new realizations. She had originally assumed that Lu Changxing, relying on his own exploration, would have some deficiencies in his foundational knowledge. Therefore, she came to listen to the class, also thinking of giving Lu Changxing some guidance at that time to reinforce his basics. Unexpectedly, under these circumstances, she reviewed the basics herself. All right, today's class will end here. If you are interested, you can go home and practice some on your own, and I will check on your progress in the next lesson, said Lu Changxing after lecturing for almost an hour. Simply listening is of no use in talisman making. After all, even if your mind understands, if your hands are unable to execute, it's no good. To go far on the talisman path, one must unite body and mind, with meticulous and minute control over one's own spiritual power and the strength applied. Then, through continuous hard practice, one can achieve success on the talisman path. Changxing, your performance today was truly surprising to Grandma, said the fourth elder, her face full of smiles, rather moved as she spoke to Lu Changxing. Grandma is overpraising me. It's all thanks to your regular guidance. humbly replied Lu Changxing. He then spoke of his preparations to break through the 7th level energy refinement. The next lecture might be in a few months. Changxing, if you plan to give a lecture, just tell Uncle Fu a few days in advance. Lu Miaochang spoke up. Asking Lu Changxing to give lectures obviously couldn't involve fixed times. It had to be at Lu Changxing's convenience. By the way, Changxing, do you need to exchange for a high-rank breakthrough elixir for your advancement to the energy refinement late stage? I remember the Lu family currently has 2 high-rank breakthrough elixirs, Lu Miaochang continued. That's exactly what I intend. I'm planning to exchange for a breakthrough elixir to assist, said Lu Changxing with a smile. It wasn't about taking advantage of using contribution value for such a small benefit. It was simply that for someone with a 9th grade spiritual root, it would seem abnormal not to use a breakthrough elixir as an aid. I just so happen to be going there as well, so let's go together, Lu Miaochang nodded promptly. Okay, Lu Changxing nodded, instructing his 2 sons to head back on their own. He went with Lu Miaochang to exchange for the high-rank breakthrough elixir. This high-rank breakthrough elixir, when purchased in the marketplace, costs 1,200 spirit stones. But when exchanged using contribution value in the Lu family, it only costs 850 points. That's equivalent to 850 spirit stones. This is one of the benefits provided by the family, encouraging the Lu family disciples to contribute more. Lu Changxing, providing talismans for the Lu family every month, had long since accumulated enough contribution to exchange for the high-rank breakthrough elixir. After exchanging for the high-rank breakthrough elixir, Lu Changxing bid farewell to Lu Miaochang. He could see that this young family head had always been extending goodwill towards him. But the man was also a close uncle through marriage relations, so naturally, Lu Changxing was friendly in return. For every inch of respect given, he would return a foot. I wonder when Shiyu will come. This refining of the 7 luminaries' heart lamp will likely take 3 to 4 months, mused Lu Changxing on his way back. It had been 3 months since they parted ways. She went back to Qingyun's sect to report and to cultivate the techniques for foundation establishment, so she was expected to visit in the coming months. Yuner, keep this transmission talisman for me, and if anyone tries to contact me, just tell them I'm in closed cultivation. Tell her to go directly to Red Leaf Valley Market to find Sister Miaoga if she has any issue, Lu Changxing instructed upon reaching home. He mentioned his plans for going into seclusion and left his and Xiaoxia's transmission talisman with his wife, Lu Miaoyun. He did this to avoid Shiyu arriving while he was not present. Chapter 348. The Effect of the 7 Luminaries' Heart Lamp, Elder of the 9 Bags Undersun. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, for months had passed. Inside the practice room, Lu Changxing was dressed in a blue long robe, sitting cross-legged in meditation. In front of him, an ancient star lamp hovered. This ancient lamp was simple in design, its body a bronze color with a faint colorful light flowing over it. Around the lamp's dish, 7 thumb-sized dazzling gems were embedded, like 7 small stars, emanating strands of brilliant light. The 7 luminaries' heart lamp, it's done. Lu Changxing suddenly opened his eyes, looking at the ancient lamp before him. He could distinctly feel that this ancient lamp was integrated with him, connected to his mental spirit. This was a life-bound spiritual artifact. Even as a lower-grade spiritual artifact, its power far exceeded that of ordinary spiritual artifacts. And it could be taken inside the body, nurtured with the mana within one's dantian, gradually enhancing its power and quality. Moreover, in times of danger, the spiritual artifact could actively alert and protect the owner. The only downside was that if the life-bound spiritual artifact was damaged, the owner would also sustain certain injuries. Lu Changxing reached out, gripping the ancient lamp in his hand. It felt warm to the touch, lacking the coldness of metal, as if he was holding a piece of warm jade. With a slight intent of his mental spirit, he channeled mana into it, and the 7 gems on the lamp immediately released a blinding divine light, like 7 stars in rotation, with a golden flame emerging in the center. Under the starlight and golden flame, Lu Changxing looked immaculate, transcendent. Ha! Lu Changxing, holding the ancient lamp, gently blew on it. Instantly, the lamp's flame flickered, and strands of sword qi burst forth. These strands of sword qi were sharp and elegant, encircling Lu Changxing, forming a sword qi true dragon, a sword qi fierce tiger, and a sword qi barrier. Although its power is only equivalent to a single blow from an ordinary foundation establishment cultivator, having the profound origin bead at my side, I fear not the consumption of mana, and in a moment's thought, I can unleash up to 100 strands of sword qi, which even a foundation establishment middle stage cultivator would find difficult to withstand. If it's a group battle, facing energy refining cultivators, it would be a one-sided slaughter. Lu Changxing observed the strands of sword qi around him, felt the spiritual pressure, and estimated their power. Immediately with a thought, the sword qi dissipated, and the 7 luminaries' heart lamp transformed into a streak of light, entering his body and traveling along his meridians to hover above the qi ocean core. Having a tangible spiritual artifact and merely a technique-conjured 7 luminaries' heart lamp were completely different experiences. Now that the spiritual artifact was inside his body, Lu Changxing also found it quite mystical. I wonder how effective the 7 luminaries' heart lamp is in condensing mana. Lu Changxing thought of the effects of the 7 luminaries' heart lamp on concentrating mana at its foundation. This was also one of the most formidable effects of the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. He took 2 qian of heavenly silver from his storage bag as fuel for the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. Immediately, the golden flame of the 7 luminaries' heart lamp blazed brightly, then entered into the elixir lake, making the liquid mana inside the elixir lake bubble and churn, as if boiling. Time went by little by little. After a long time, when the fuel was exhausted, the elixir lake returned to calmness. Tisk, down goes 2 qian of heavenly silver, and I hardly saw any effect, only a faint sense of purer mana. According to the 7 luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture, with the 7 luminaries' heart lamp condensing mana, the foundation can be enhanced by up to 30%, and this 30% probably requires burning upwards of 100 jin of heavenly silver. Lu Changxing couldn't help but shake his head in amazement. Ordinarily, the 7 luminaries' heart lamp uses mana as fuel, deployed in battle, expelling elixir toxicity, guarding the mental spirit, and resisting external demons. But to condense the mana foundation, one had to use heavenly silver as the fuel. This heavenly silver was priced at 100 spirit stones for 1 liang. If one were to burn up to 100 jin of heavenly silver, that is, burning up to about 150 or 200,000 spirit stones. Even for Lu Changxing, such a figure was astonishing. However, a 30% enhancement in mana, not only solidifying the foundation, is also beneficial for the probability and quality of core formation. The cost in spirit stones, one could say, is worth it. Moreover, the price of 100 spirit stones for 1 liang is what I paid at the Qingyun Commerce Guild. If I purchase it myself, at least I could get it for 20 to 30% cheaper. Lu Changxing pondered in his heart. He was in no rush to use heavenly silver to condense his mana foundation. This kind of thing could completely wait until there were surplus spirit stones. Or wait until he had a solid base, then slowly start to purchase heavenly silver. Besides, such a process is not accomplished overnight. It's a long-term project. It's about time to go out, otherwise after being closed up for 4 months, the family might think something has happened to me. Lu Changxing used the cleansing technique, cleaned up the practice room, packed up the heavenly canopy 5 elements formation, and walked out of the practice room. Husband. Daddy. Outside the courtyard, Chu Zhenjin was telling a story to their little son and daughter. Upon seeing Lu Changxing, they immediately voiced their surprise joyfully. Zhenjin, I've made you worry. Lu Changxing knew that his prolonged seclusion must have worried his wives. Was your cultivation smooth, husband? Chu Zhenjin, clad in a light pink and white dress, her delicate features charming, hugged Lu Changxing and asked with concern. Having closed up for so long, naturally, I've made a breakthrough. Lu Changxing smiled, gently patting his petite wife's back. After all these years, Chu Zhenjin was still very attached to him. But with children now, when he wasn't around, she would focus her heart and energy on the kids. Congratulations, husband. Chu Zhenjin, hearing this, immediately congratulated him cheerfully. Having been on Qingzhou Mountain for many years, she too was practicing cultivation and had gained quite an understanding of it. She knew that Lu Changsheng's breakthrough this time was to the 7th level energy refinement, which was the energy refinement late stage. At Qingzhou Mountain, reaching the energy refinement late stage already qualified as a master. Congratulations, Daddy. Congratulations, Daddy. The two little ones beside also followed with their congratulations. What story is Mom telling you? Lu Changsheng looked at his son and daughter, took out 2 spirit fruits from his storage bag and handed them over, as he affectionately ruffled their heads and asked with a smile. Chapter 349. The Effect of the 7 Luminaries Heart Lamp, Elder of the 9 Bags. Chu Zhenjin had 4 children, and even the youngest was already 6 years old. This made Lu Changsheng marvel at how quickly time passed. He still vividly remembered making that 3-year pledge and on the way back, bringing Chu Zhenjin home from the dilapidated temple to Qingzhou Mountain. The 2 little ones then prattled onto Lu Changsheng with their chirping voices. Following Lu Changsheng's emergence from seclusion, his other wives and concubines came to visit one after another with their congratulations, delighted at Lu Changsheng's breakthrough to the energy refinement late stage. After reuniting with his wives and family, Lu Miaoyun informed Lu Changsheng that the Lu family clan assembly had already concluded. Because he was in seclusion, they did not disturb him. This year's clan assembly marked the completion of a generational handover within the Lu family. Lu Miaochang assumed the role of the new family head, while Lu Yuanding became a family elder, responsible for the family finances and assisting the new family head in managing the family. Lu Miaoge also became an executor of the family, a candidate in the next generation of elders. Lu Changsheng's position as family elder was also made official. However, due to his generation and age, he was placed at the end of the line, as the 9th elder. Upon becoming an elder, besides the title, the family benefits and treatment also correspondingly improved. For the specific obligations of an elder, Lu Changsheng needed to speak with the new family head, Lu Miaochang. 9th elder. Hearing this ranking, Lu Changsheng smirked with a smile, his thoughts inadvertently turning to the elders ranked by bags. Husband, the transmission talisman you gave me also brought news last month. Lu Miaoyun conveyed that a woman had come looking for Lu Changsheng last month. After chatting with her for a while and learning that Lu Changsheng was in seclusion, the woman then left for the Red Leaf Valley Market. Yuna, thank you for your hard work. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng nodded, understanding that it was Xiao Siye who had visited. But he had a pile of matters at hand and wasn't in a rush to go to the Red Leaf Valley Market just yet. First, he sought out Lu Miaochang to confirm the specifics involved with these so-called elder duties. Lu Miaochang told Lu Changsheng that the main duties revolved around talisman affairs. Then there was cultivating talisman path apprentices, overseeing the profits and losses of the talisman shops in the various marketplaces, along with some other trifles. After hearing this, Lu Changsheng immediately refused to involve himself with the talisman shops, advising the Lu family to find someone else to manage them. He didn't want to get too involved with the core interests of the Lu family, nor did he have the spare time for it. After all, he didn't even have time to manage his own shops. Once they roughly finished their discussion, Lu Changsheng informed Uncle Fu at Qingzhou Villa that he would be teaching in 3 days. After taking care of all these matters, Lu Changsheng went back home to spend time with his wives, continuing with his grand endeavor of parenting. In the blink of an eye, another half a month had passed. During this half month, Lu Changsheng basically didn't cultivate, he was focused on parenting. As for how many more children he would have, that would require some time to determine. One day, Lu Changsheng suddenly felt a surge of pure spiritual power infusing into his own body. What is this? Lu Changsheng was somewhat surprised, unsure where this spiritual power came from. It took a moment before he realized it was his son, Lu Xianji, who had made a breakthrough to the second level. But this bit of cultivation is like pouring a jug of water into a pond for me at the moment. Lu Changsheng lightly shook his head. After briefly showing concern for his son, he told his wives that he needed to make a trip to the Red Leaf Valley market. Before heading to the marketplace, Lu Changsheng paid a visit to his father-in-law, Lu Yuanding. It wasn't that there was anything in particular, he simply wanted to take his daughter Lu Qingzhu to visit her mother. Since Lu Miaoge spent most of her time in the Red Leaf Valley market, the daughter was typically taken care of either by Lu Miaohuan or Lu Yuanding. Recently, both Lu Qingzhu and Lu Qingshan had been taken there by Lu Yuanding. Father-in-law. Upon reaching Lu Yuanding's residence, Lu Changxing immediately saw him babysitting his grandchildren. His son, Lu Qingshan, was energetically chasing a white goose with a small wooden sword. His daughter, Lu Qingzhu, on the other hand, sat quietly in Lu Yuanding's arms, watching Lu Qingshan chase the goose. "Changxing, you've come." Lu Yuanding, holding his little granddaughter, greeted Lu Changxing with a beaming smile. He used to be quite busy, but after relinquishing the position of family head, he gained some leisure time. As for the elder duties, they essentially depended on oneself. If one were willing to delegate authority, it wouldn't be too busy, so he also had the leisure to spend time with the children. "Daddy, huh?" The goose chasing Lu Qingshan, upon spotting his father's arrival, charged over with his little legs and a swing of his sword. Seeing this, Lu Changxing reached out and caught his son by the nape and lifted the mischievous boy. "Grandpa, Grandpa, save me!" Lu Qingshan immediately called out for his grandfather's help. "Daddy!" Even though she was a top-level talisman master, she couldn't afford such a valuable elixir. After all, not all talisman masters were like Lu Changxing, possessing a 100% success rate in talisman making. Moreover, she didn't need to spend spirit stones on materials for practicing talisman making. "I have already taken one, and this one is specifically for you, Sister Miaoge," Lu Changxing said with a smile. He had guessed that Lu Miaoge would refuse, so he had prepared his response. "Changxing, thank you," Lu Miaoge said, gazing into Lu Changxing's eyes that shimmered with tenderness, and she didn't refuse any further. "Between husband and wife, there is no need for thanks," Lu Changxing chuckled and continued. "If Sister Miaoge plans to enter closed-door cultivation after taking the elixir, I can manage the shop. Father and Qingzhu, Qingshan have all come here. Let's talk about it later," Lu Miaoge said softly. As she spoke, it seemed she remembered something and added, "Oh, right, your good friend Li Feiyu came by earlier, but he didn't wait for you to return, so he left some things for me to give to you." "Things?" Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised to hear this. In a little while, Lu Miaoge took out a storage bag from the room and handed it to Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing opened the storage bag and saw that it contained a pile of spirit stones. Almost 200 spirit stones. There was also a letter. He opened the letter to read it. Sigh. After reading the letter, Lu Changxing let out a light breath. The letter was a farewell. It mentioned that he had made arrangements with someone to head to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, so he wouldn't wait any longer for Lu Changxing. They would catch up and chat some other time. The 200 spirit stones were his current spare stones, so he wanted to pay back a portion first. As for the remaining spirit stones, he would repay them after coming back from Azure Phoenix Immortal City next time. He also told Lu Changxing not to worry, as he would return when he had time. Then, the letter mentioned some trivial matters and his own insights into the cultivation world. Feiyu is still the same old Feiyu, not willing to owe even a little. Lu Changxing sighed and shook his head. He wasn't in need of these 200 spirit stones at all right now. But these 200 spirit stones were probably all that Li Feiyu could offer at the moment. Changxing, Lu Miaoge also knew that Li Feiyu was one of Lu Changxing's few close friends. They had come to the Lu family together and shared a deep friendship. "I'm fine, just feeling a bit emotional," Lu Changxing shook his head slightly, not hiding the matter of Li Feiyu from his wife. Sometimes, having someone close to talk and confide in could make one feel much better. Since he was harboring many secrets, he would not hide ordinary matters from his wife. Sister Miaoge, it's getting late. After talking for a long time, Lu Changxing, gazing at his wife's soft, beautiful and stunning countenance, suddenly spoke. Immediately he supported his lovely wife's slender shoulder and captured her full, moist, soft lips, extracting sweetness. Let's go to the room. Lu Miaoge didn't expect that while they were having a good conversation, her husband would suddenly turn romantic. Her eyelashes quivered slightly, then her arms encircled her husband's neck, and she gasped, speaking in short breaths. Chapter 351. You are all my wings, superior spiritual root. _1. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. After a night of jubilant celebration with Lu Miaoge, Lu Changxing headed to the cave-dwelling area early the next morning. Shiyu, it's me, open the door. Arriving at the entrance of a cave dwelling, Lu Changxing took out the transmission talisman he shared with Xianxia. After a short while, the cave dwelling's protective enchantment was lifted. In a moon-white dress, with a countenance both cold and immaculate, Xianxia appeared, as if she were a fairy from the moon palace. Changxing. Upon seeing Lu Changxing, the coldness on her face instantly melted away like ice and snow, revealing a smile. Have you missed me these days? Lu Changxing naturally took hold of Xiaoxia's soft, slippery, slender pale hand with a warm voice. After walking into the cave dwelling, he immediately drew the beauty into his embrace. The familiar rich and refreshing fragrance filled his nostrils, delightfully refreshing to the soul. Even though they were already very intimate, the fact that they hadn't seen each other for half a year and now Lu Changxing was being so affectionate upon their reunion still made Xiaoxia's cheeks flush red. However, his actions and soft words didn't repulse her. On the contrary, they made her heart, which was supposed to be aloof from worldly emotions, tremble. She didn't suppress her feelings, and with slightly trembling beautiful eyes, she whispered softly, I did. Shiyu misses me, and I have also been constantly thinking of Shiyu. Lu Changxing said, holding the warm and fragrant beauty in his embrace, whispering in her ear. Upon hearing this, waves of sweetness surged in Xiaoxia's heart. But she was no naive girl to be easily deceived. Her beautiful eyes rippled like water, and with a charming smile, she said, sweet talker, with so many wives and concubines at home, you couldn't possibly remember me. Shiyu, are you jealous? You are all my wings, how could I forget you? I've come to see you as soon as I had time. Lu Changxing smiled and said no more on the subject, speaking softly, Shiyu, let me see how your Dao foundation is doing, Xiaoxia couldn't help but let out a soft moan from her nose and slowly closed her beautiful eyes. With rustling sounds, her two long and straight legs tensed up. Wrapped in moon-white silk stockings, her snow-white jade feet, with 10 crystal-clear toes, unconsciously curled up. After a long while. Afterwards, Xiaoxia refined the yin-yang energies and solidified her Dao foundation. She said gently, nestling in Lu Changxing's embrace, Changxing, I've heard some news inside the sect. Meng Yibai, the grandson of Immortal Meng, the one we encountered in the Qingyun market before, he's dead, Xiaoxia revealed. Meng Yibai was not just the grandson of a false core immortal. He was also a core disciple of the Qingyun sect. Even within an immortal sect like Qingyun, Foundation establishment cultivators were extremely precious and considered a central force. Furthermore, Meng Yibai was no ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator. Now fallen outside, his death was no small news within the Qingyun sect. Meng Yibai. Lu Changxing was caressing a ripe and plump softness as full as the full moon, and upon hearing these words, he raised an eyebrow. Xiaoxia must have guessed that he was involved in the news since she had told him about it. He didn't choose to hide it and chuckled lightly. After I left the marketplace, he inexplicably pursued me intending to kill, so I had no choice but to slay him. Xiaoxia showed no sign of surprise upon hearing this. Just as Lu Changxing had guessed when she heard the news, she had a vague feeling that it concerned him. Especially after understanding the general situation and who Meng Yibai was, she was almost certain that Meng Yibai had died at the hands of Lu Changxing. Although she didn't know how Lu Changxing, who had just broken through to Foundation establishment, managed to kill Meng Yibai, who was in the mid-stages of Foundation establishment, the Yin-Yang 5 Elements Foundation base and his past performance of slaying the man in the red robe made his image in her heart loom large and grand. She felt that although the event was shocking, it was within reason. After all, the man Xianxia fancied was never that simple. Changxing, although Immortal Meng did not bring the investigation to you, I found out she went to Qingyun Market to inquire, and it's very possible she will target us. She refrains from questioning me only because she considers my master's position. As far as I know, Immortal Meng was very fond of her grandson Meng Yibai and won't let this matter rest. She will continue investigating. I've come down from the mountain in disguise, concealing my identity. You should also be careful in the future. Xianxia said softly, still nestled in Lu Changxing's embrace. Having guessed that it was Lu Changxing who committed the act, she naturally went to understand the situation. Knowing that Lady Meng had immediately left the Qingyun sect to investigate after Meng Yibai's death and had gone to Qingyun Market, it was possible that she and Lu Changxing could end up on the suspect list. Moreover, cultivators don't always rely on evidence when they take action. Especially when there is a power disparity between the parties, evidence is even less likely to come into play. Being the disciple of a core formation master, she herself was not worried. While living a fulfilling life in the Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Changxing did not forget his wives and concubines at home. After speaking with Lu Miaoge and Xiaoxia, he returned to Qingzhou Mountain. After all, his main base was still at Qingzhou Mountain. He also always remembered his initial resolve, firmly adhering to two principles of endeavor: properly nurture the children, properly father children. After returning to Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Changxing learned that his efforts over the past half-month had led to his concubine Kuac becoming pregnant. To this, Lu Changxing felt gratified in his heart. After asking after the well-being of his wives and children, he continued with his great endeavor of fathering children. After staying on Qingzhou Mountain for more than half a month and another maid becoming pregnant, Lu Changxing rode the Iron Feather Eagle and headed for Rui Prefecture. One reason was to check on his wives and children. Another was to see the young girl Bai Ling. After all, it had been half a year since they last saw each other. He didn't want the young girl to forget him. Moreover, she could also try to start cultivating now. Upon arriving at Rui Prefecture, Lu Changxing visited his home and then went to see where Bai Ling lived. Brother, Bai Ling was learning weaving with Granny Zhao. Seeing Lu Changxing arrive, her little face immediately showed a look of delight as she trotted over. She was still dressed in that exquisite white Lucien skirt. But to Lu Changxing, looking at Bai Ling now, he felt that compared to half a year ago, she seemed to have gained a certain allure. Though allure was hardly suitable for a 12-year-old girl, it was the feeling that Lu Changxing got. And he could clearly sense that it was not an illusion. She really had changed in that respect. This led Lu Changxing to speculate that it must be related to Bai Ling's physical condition. After all, he had previously observed her eyes reflecting a ripple of the mental spirit, slightly absent-minded. Master! Granny Zhao, seeing Lu Changxing, spoke respectfully. She knew that her current way of life was all thanks to the fortunes of Bai Ling. So she always presented herself with proper regard to her status, and routinely encouraged Bai Ling to keep Lu Changxing in her thoughts. How has little Linger been doing lately? Lu Changxing nodded and then, looking at the little lass in front of him, rubbed her hair tied in twin ponytails and asked warmly. Linger has been so happy lately. Not only do I have delicious food, but Wuyo, Sheila, and Rui also take me out to play. Bai Ling looked up happily, recounting the details of her life. Having not seen Lu Changxing for half a year, she missed him deeply. Not only did Lu Changxing save her, but he was also like a ray of light that gradually healed her scar-filled heart. Because of this, she felt a special affection for Lu Changxing. Little Linger, do you remember brother once told you that you have a celestial fate? Lu Changsheng listened to Bai Ling's words. After chatting for a long time, he spoke. Brother, can Linger really cultivate? Bai Ling asked with bright eyes, full of hope at his words. Over the past half a year, although she mostly stayed at home, because of Lu Changsheng's instructions, people like Lu Wuyo, Lu Shila, and Lu Rui would come to keep her company and play with her. Through this, she gained a bit of understanding about Lu Changsheng, celestial fate and cultivation. Therefore, she always anticipated that she truly had a celestial fate, so she could cultivate and stay by Lu Changsheng's side. Of course, how could brother deceive you? Lu Changsheng smiled and took Bai Ling towards the Lu residence. At the back courtyard of the Lu residence, he had set up a modest spirit-gathering array, whose spiritual energy was enough to facilitate the meditation of cultivators in the early to middle stages of energy refinement. Walking on the streets, when passers-by went by, Lu Changsheng saw Bai Ling look somewhat timid, clutching his hand tightly. He hadn't expected that in only half a year, Bai Ling would have formed a friendship with his daughters. After living at home for a little less than half a month, Lu Changsheng took Bai Ling and Granny Zhao to Qingzhou Mountain. Bai Ling had severe social anxiety and lacked a sense of security. Taking her to Qingzhou Mountain when he was not around would surely make her feel insecure, but Granny Zhao's presence would make it much better. Chapter 354. Changsheng, are you willing to join the Qingyun sect? _1. 3 days later, a spirit boat descended outside Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Changsheng brought Bai Ling and Granny Zhao into Qingzhou Mountain. Now as an elder of the Lu family, taking 2 people into Qingzhou Valley was naturally a piece of cake. He merely had to explain the situation briefly, no need to register and report as before. Husband, who are these 2? Lu Miaoyan asked as she looked at Bai Ling, who was holding Lu Changsheng's hand with a timid expression on her face. In the past, Lu Changsheng often brought women home. But in recent years, he hardly ever brought anyone home from outside. Seeing Bai Ling's demeanor, she even thought it was a daughter Lu Changsheng had outside. After all, with so many maids in her husband's household, it made sense for some children to be scattered outside that she had never met. Yuna, this is Bai Ling. Lu Changsheng began to explain Bai Ling's situation to Lu Miaoyun. But he didn't go into detail. He simply said that he passed by a village and rescued Bai Ling. Discovering that Bai Ling had a spiritual root and was not lacking in talent, he brought her back to Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Miaoyun, being very perceptive and having been Lu Changsheng's wife for many years, immediately picked up on the implications of his words. Knowing that Bai Ling could receive such attention from her own husband, she must be extraordinary. Perhaps when she grew up, she might even become part of the family as a younger sister. She then promptly settled Bai Ling and Granny Zhao down in the manor for care. 3 days later, Lu Yuanding came looking for Lu Changsheng. He told him that the auction held by the 4 major families at Red Leaf Valley Market was starting in 3 months. The Lu family would provide a batch of high-quality talisman materials. The Bai family would put out a batch of high-quality spirit birds. The Yu and Zheng families would also bring out a batch of high-quality resources. Moreover, the 4 major families had also invited other families, forces, and loose cultivators to the auction. Father-in-law, these are the supreme talismans I've prepared. They are all premium talismans. Lu Yuanding had already discussed the matter with him, so Lu Changsheng immediately knew his intention and took out a stack of supreme talismans. These talismans were considered premium among the supreme talismans, rare talismans. Very good, Changsheng, you've worked hard, said Lu Yuanding, looking at the talismans with a satisfied smile. Patted Lu Changsheng on the shoulder and added, rest assured, the family will compensate you for these talismans according to your contribution. I am now an elder of the family, it's only right for me to make some contributions to the family, Lu Changsheng said with a smile. First-grade supreme talismans and second-rank talismans are very rare for ordinary cultivators. Usually, they would need to reserve or scramble to buy them. But to him, they were just a matter of a few spirit stones in cost. Lu Yuanding was deeply touched when he heard this. After all, in his eyes, although Lu Changxing was proficient in the talisman path, he was still a first-grade talisman master. He had not yet advanced to a second-grade talisman master. It must not have been easy to create so many premium supreme talismans. It certainly took a lot of time and effort. He might even have made a loss while making these talismans. He felt moved as he looked towards Lu Changxing and said, "Changxing, I heard from Miaoge that she was able to break through to the 9th level energy refinement because you gave her an elixir medicine. It's a good intention, and I, as a father, am delighted about it, but you should consider your own situation more. With so many wives and children depending on you at home, the expenses are already large. Don't be wasteful like that in the future." Lu Yuanding said to Lu Changxing earnestly. Originally, he was quite unhappy that Lu Changxing married 2 of his daughters at once. But over time, seeing that Lu Changxing treated both of his daughters well, and did not treat his own daughter as a mere breeding tool, his unhappiness gradually faded away. He began to treat Lu Changxing as a son. So he also hoped that Lu Changxing could cultivate properly, not to waste resources and hinder himself. He had also heard about Lu Changxing's way of raising children. As soon as a child was detected with a spiritual root, he would buy elixir medicines that solidified their foundation and cultivated their essence. All wives and children regularly consumed spirit rice and spirit food. This made him shake his head involuntarily. Even though Lu Changxing was a talisman master, with a rewarded 100 acres of spirit field by the family, a spiritual talisman shop in Red Leaf Valley Market, and a cave dwelling, his finances wouldn't hold up with such expenditures. Changxing understands that elixir medicine was obtained coincidentally, and since I don't have a use for it right now, I gave it to Sister Miaoge, Lu Changxing said, smiling. Lu Changxing replied with a smile. It's good to have that intention, but still, your cultivation level should be the priority. Once you advance to second-grade talisman master, save up more spirit stones. Maybe then you can go to Immortal City and try to purchase a foundation establishment elixir to attempt foundation establishment, Lu Yuanding said. He certainly knew about Lu Changxing's breakthrough to the energy refinement late stage. I also broke through to the second rank on the talisman path after my divine sense greatly increased following my foundation establishment breakthrough. Lu Changxing did not get carried away, laughingly shook his head as he spoke. Although this was a white lie, divine sense was indeed helpful for talisman making. Or rather, with divine sense, doing anything became much more convenient. A foundation establishment great cultivator who is willing to spend the time to study the 100 skills of cultivation will be several times, even dozens of times better than an ordinary cultivator. But this also shows your innate talent in this area, Changxing. Xiaoxia's eyes curved like crescent moons as she spoke. After speaking, she seemed to think of something and asked aloud, "By the way, Changxing, what are your future plans?" Plans? Lu Changxing hadn't expected Xiaoxia to suddenly ask about this matter. He pondered for a moment. "I'm not a man of great ambition, actually. To have come this far is also because I had some good fortune and opportunities. If I had to say, I plan to find a spiritual vein and establish my own cultivation family once the children are grown." Lu Changxing spoke out loud. Finding a spiritual vein and establishing a family. Xiaoxia heard this and nodded thoughtfully. She also knew that Lu Changxing liked children and had many of them. Planning to establish his own family in the future also made sense. Changxing, to establish a family, you first need a spiritual vein. At present, most of the spiritual lands in Jiang country have been occupied, unless one heads to the Great Dream Marsh, the myriad beasts mountain range, or the bitter, cold frontier lands of other countries? Have you considered joining the Qingyun sect? Xianxia asked aloud. She had just heard that Lu Changxing possessed the skills of a second-grade talisman master and wanted to invite him to join the Qingyun sect. It wasn't for the sake of Qingyun sect's recruitment. She simply thought that now that Lu Changxing had established his foundation, he could consider moving to a better environment. And in Jiang country, as one of the 3 great immortal sects under the hegemony of the Heavenly Sword sect, the Qingyun sect naturally counted as a promising destination. Join the Qingyun sect? Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow. That's right, Changxing. With your second-grade talisman master skills, you could enter Qingyun sect through the route of a guest elder position. Moreover, the Qingyun sect has many spiritual vein-blessed lands for rent or sale. As long as you join the Qingyun sect, with a certain number of years and contributions, I could also look for an opportunity to request my master to arrange a top-quality spiritual land for you. Xianxia spoke softly. To join the Qingyun sect, is second-rank skills all that's required? Lu Changxing asked upon hearing her words. Chapter 358. The World's Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. Ordinary cultivators find it difficult to access. Even more so for a green jade luan bird, a demon beast of earth-grade bloodline, the method to hatch and rear one is even more precious. Senior, you are too kind, Yu Jingguang said, looking flattered and surprised. Shortly after, Lu Changxing casually inquired about the good items available at the auction. Facing the inquiry of a foundation establishment great cultivator, Yu Jingguang did not dare to keep anything hidden and shared some information he knew. After listening, Lu Changxing didn't show much interest. After chatting for a while, Lu Changxing and Xianxia stood up and left. If the 2 seniors encounter any issues in the marketplace, or if there are any small matters that require instructions, you can come and find our Yu family. Our Yu family as the host of Red Leaf Valley Market. As Lu Changxing and Xianxia were about to leave, Yu Jingguang took out a jade token, offering it with a respectful and polite gesture. All right, Lu Changxing said with a light laugh, accepting the jade token. He naturally understood that the other party wanted to curry favor with both of them and establish a goodwill connection. After Lu Changxing and Xianxia left, Yu Jingguang exhaled deeply, saying with a solemn expression, even though that person didn't reveal any cultivation aura, he is very likely also a foundation establishment great cultivator. 2 unknown foundation establishment great cultivators arriving at the marketplace, I must report this to the ancestors. Shiyu, you might as well keep this jade token. After walking out of the auction, Lu Changxing tossed the jade token to Xianxia. He wasn't convenient to show his true identity in the marketplace, nor did he need this jade token. Holding this jade token, Xianxia might find it convenient at times. Xianxia tucked away the jade token, then said, Changxing, regarding the hatching and cultivation method for the green jade luan bird, if you need it, I can later check in the sect. There's no hurry for this, look into it when you have time later. Lu Changxing replied casually. At this moment he also realized the benefits of belonging to a sect. Treasures and inherited knowledge that are difficult for ordinary cultivators to obtain are much simpler for disciples of immortal sects. By the way, I obtained this green jade luan bird's egg from Meng Yibai. So, if you're going to check this information, you might need to be a bit careful. Lu Changxing reminded her. Although the chance of it being problematic was very small, it was still prudent to be a little cautious. Then he briefly greeted Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Zhenzhen, and without further ado he registered them and let them enter through a special passage. With the increased visitor traffic at Red Leaf Valley Market, a special passage was established to accommodate esteemed guests, bypassing identity verification. Once inside the market, Lu Changxing first accompanied his wives for a leisurely time around the bustling marketplace. With the auction approaching, the visitor traffic in Red Leaf Valley Market had peaked, creating a lively atmosphere. Just then, as they were walking, the second miss suddenly let out a disdainful snort. A woman in a yellow dress coming from the opposite direction also glanced at Lu Changxing and snorted disdainfully. Seeing this, Lu Changxing was taken aback, unsure of what was happening. It took him a moment to remember that the woman was a direct daughter of the Zheng family, apparently named Zheng Yongshan. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.